All right, well, let's get rolling here with episode 278 of the Current Gen podcast. My name's Tim. I'm here with Kyle, and we're here to talk almost completely about Kojima. Is everyone going to turn it off as soon as we say that, you think?
Everyone just checked out. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
they're gone. No, we got
Yeah.
a few other games and a few headlines that we'll cover too that are interesting from this week, but it is mostly about the man who created the biggest game release probably of this quarter, or definitely of this month, maybe even of this quarter. We'll see, in Death
hmm
Stranding 2, and that is Hideo Kojima, which I think we say backwards here in the US. I'm pretty sure. Don't over there they say
Yeah.
Kojima Hideo. Isn't that how they would say it over there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, but I weirdly enough, like that stuff always trips me up. So
Yeah, same here. I learned what
yeah,
I know from
all the anime I
movies.
watch, I would like have that locked down. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
even know
for
when to
real.
use Chan and a San or
I thought
all
about
the
that as I was
titles.
playing, and this is just goes to show that video games teach you things. As I was playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, I was like, "Oh, it looks like the first name is actually their surname. It's like their family name, and then it gets
Yeah.
to their individual one, which kind of makes
Yeah.
sense if you
Thanks.
think about it that way." Yeah,
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Assassin's Creed. You
yeah.
French
See,
people really know how to
they're
teach us
teaching me
sometimes.
stuff. Yeah, I'm learning from video gaming.
I think I learned something from Assassin's Creed every time I play one, to be honest. So I know
I mean,
we
yeah,
might be being a little facetious, but I think
it's
well,
true.
now that I think about it, I'm like, no, I actually learned something from every one of their games. So
And hey, it's easy to hate
they're
on
nice to be introduced
Ubisoft.
to.
It's
Yeah,
easy to hate on. They're a big company. They've had a lot of success over the years. They've struggled, of course, as we know more
right.
recently. But yeah, they're the only games that I know of that create fully fledged education only modes in their historical based settings.
True. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. They actually literally have education modes. Yeah, where it's like you take
Yeah,
a walk through history or whatever.
yeah. Explore Egypt, explore
Uh,
ancient England or Greece,
the
or
French are an easy target. We just love to hate them. I don't know what to tell you.
I know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they make great games for the most part,
it's
but
very
whatever.
true. Yeah, I've liked all the Assassin's Creeds, even the middling ones, even like Mirage
Me
from
too.
last year, which I played and
All
finished,
the
and I liked it, but I didn't love it.
all
But I
the
liked it.
ones I didn't like when I went back and played them again, like the London one, like ended up
Uh
being some
huh.
of my favorites.
Oh, I love
Um,
Syndicate. Syndicate's
yeah,
so good.
Syndicate's so good. Yeah, like the Gangs of New York
Hmm.
style, Gangs of New York, Gangs of London style, type of
Yep.
stuff. I don't know. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood, and then when I double back on something, we all have experienced this, where it's just like, oh no, this is very much for
Like,
me.
oh yeah, this is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just being, I don't know, a curmudgeon before. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just I
I'm with
showed
you.
up in a negative mood.
I'm doing that for a game right now, but we'll talk about it more next week. Because next week we'll do kind of like a state of the game of the year race. Where are we right now? How are we feeling? We'll
Fun
kind of preview the rest of the year.
half year
So there's a
check-in.
game that I kind of dipped in and then dipped back out of that now I am fully back in on, and it's exactly what you just said. Where I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah, no, this is totally me. Like this is
yeah.
absolutely a me game. Yeah. But we'll talk about that next week. A little teaser to tune in for 279,
Nice. To
everybody,
be
because
continued.
everyone should super care about my gaming right now. Yeah,
Everyone's invested in the lore of current gen. I promise you.
it's very true.
The character
So we're gonna
development that we witness every week is just stellar.
so true. So um we're gonna talk about Death Stranding 2. We want to get Kyle's full thoughts on that. He's been able to spend a good chunk of time with it this week, so we're gonna talk about that. But before we get to it, we'll kind of build up to that by talking about the man himself, Kojima. What I thought we could do is just walk down, in some cases, memory lane. For me, some of it's like education lane because I didn't know this, even though it's
Mhm.
from back in the day. The games that he has been part of and where he got his start. So, for example, he got his start as an assistant director, which is kind of a crazy place to start. I'm sure he did other things first, but as far as the games that are attributed to him with his name on the credits, it all begins with this little game. You've probably heard of it, Kyle, called Penguin Adventure. Are you familiar with this one?
Yeah, barely, but yes, yeah, only because it's been mentioned in his Rolodex before. But I'm not. I think that this might be one of the first times I've actually ever seen it. If you're pulling up footage, so
I am pulling it up now.
oh
Yeah,
man, great.
this is actually just someone doing a full playthrough of it.
Oh great, let's watch
Um,
it. We have time. Let's go ahead. Let
yeah,
it roll.
it's a 47-minute playthrough. But yeah, clearly you're a penguin trying to get to your lady penguin who's red with a pink bow, as most lady penguins are. They
Sure,
definitely don't all look exactly the same. That's for sure.
that's right. Yeah. When's the existentialism kick in though? Is that
Here in a
baked in
second,
this?
you'll see. There's this. You are a penguin going down the never-ending road in the the evergreen trees with clay
this looks like a place
roads.
where penguins would be, right? Like a non-snowy, rocky, tree place.
And it
Yeah,
looks
this
like
seems
fish
right.
jumping out of the holes. I don't know if they're supposed to be like if it's supposed to be ice and they're jumping out of the ice holes because it's
Yeah,
fish, I think, jumping
yeah,
out.
it looks like ice, right? It broke. Why is the ice red? It's blood
I don't
ice. See,
know.
there's a
But there
backstory
yeah,
here.
there's like these slot machines where you can like bet the fish that
Okay.
you've gotten
Yeah.
on stuff. So there's a gambling element to this. I don't know. Very unique first game uh, for our old buddy Kojima. Looks like you're like
What's the message on the
cave.
industrial military complex? What's the commentary here?
There's boss fights. We know that.
It's
So
gotta be baked in.
the giant Komodo dragon creature, whatever this is, represents corporate capitalism.
Yep. See, now you're
Yeah,
playing along. Here we go.
yeah.
See,
See,
he's
I
on
get it.
ice now. It's white. Yeah. Like
Yeah, I don't.
what was
I don't
going
know.
on before? Yeah.
I don't know. It's quite the adventure. So I thought I'd
Alright.
bring that one up, even though he wasn't the
This is
director
great.
creator of it. It's just kind of
Mhm.
cool to see where he got his start. And
I've
people
never
that are
actually
commenting
seen
on
it.
it, yeah, people commenting on the video do talk about like, hey, there's no other games like this. This was kind of a very unique take on this platforming racer type thing. So I was like, yeah, of course it is. Of course it's a unique take on something.
Mhm.
And of course it's how he started.
I would love to.
But
I
let's get
hope
to
one of
the
these games that you bring up, you're like, this is a boring take. Like, is there one? Is there one where he's just like, he just kind of showed up, you know?
he just went by the numbers and followed
Yeah.
the algorithm and
He followed industry trends and yeah.
totally. Yeah, that's not gonna spoiler alert, that's not gonna happen for any of
Oh,
these games.
shucks.
In 1987 is when we saw the original Metal Gear hit. And so for some reason in my head, I thought he took that series over with Metal Gear Solid. I didn't realize he was like there from the beginning as game designer,
Mhm.
director, and writer
It's his
of the
baby.
Metal Gear games. Yeah, did not know that, but
I
mm,
didn't play these earlier games until after Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid was my first one, so
okay,
showing
same
up
here.
to that game, probably you too, right? Yeah, there's a lot of
Yep,
lore that you're just walking into that you have no frame of reference for because there is actually a lot of story in these first couple old school
yep,
games. Like a weirdly amount of story for like these kind
yep.
of this era of video games. So,
And we
um
get introduced to Solid Snake and Big Boss and all these characters right away. Like they're all here.
hard games. I remember like they were both
Yeah.
packaged in on Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence or Substance, whatever, I forget which one the name it is, but when they released that they had the original games on there, and that's when I played them, and I was like, I would have
Okay.
never been able to play these as a kid. Like these are like
I didn't play
super
them until
hard.
the collections, the recent collection that
Oh
had
really?
them.
Okay,
And
wow.
so yeah. So I actually remember I just played this somewhat recently and I was like, "Oh, you can go on the back of these trucks. That's cool." And I was trying to put myself in, late 80s, early 90s mode of gaming and it's still really tough. It's
Yeah, it's super
it
tough.
it's a nostalgic look back at kind of where things have come from, but for me personally, having not played it, it's kind of hard to play more than
Oh, well, once I
20,
beat
30
them
minutes.
once, it was, and I forced myself to do those. I was like, I'm
Oh, did
good.
you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good. No, these are cool. And I shared that load with like a friend, like who
Yeah.
wanted to experience them too. And I'll be honest,
Yep.
he played maybe half to more than half of them. So there was plenty of times I was like, no, here, take the controller. These are tough
I mean, some
games.
of the settings we see in Metal Gear Solid definitely are pulled right from this, as you get into
Yeah,
the
you can tell Metal
warehouses
Gear
and things like
Solid was a
that.
little bit of a okay. I want to try these like some of these ideas again, but in 3D.
Mhm.
Absolutely,
Yep.
especially these last couple scenes you just showed.
Yep. So that's the original Metal Gear, which of course was on what's MSX? Is that a computer console? Is that a
Yeah,
computer
yeah,
game
it's some
console?
kind of like in Japan type of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to like misspeak, but it's some kind of console that we didn't get here.
Yeah, I
Some
think
kind
it
of
has a keyboard. So I do think it was like a computer gaming
yeah, that
console.
seems right.
But then of course it came to the NES, which is where I am aware that it existed.
And we
So,
got weird, very like Snake's Revenge over here that are like weird like spin-offs that have like nothing
yeah.
to do with him. So there's
Yep.
and I
We
but
did.
like people get that people like, "Oh, that's a sequel to this one." It's like, "No." Yeah. Not so much, no.
Sorry. No, not really. Well, the next game is another one I had really never heard of until just the last day or two looking this stuff up called Snatcher. And I
Mhm.
gotta tell you, it's actually hard to find the original 1988 version that came out on the MSX2 because it was remade for the Sega CD.
Mm.
And they look drastically different. So I'm like, I don't really know what I'm looking at here, but I'll skip ahead a bit because this is it was a it's a lengthy opening. Not surprising, I
Hmm.
guess, for a Kojima
Yeah,
game with
he
lots of
started
text
it way back then.
with these like arms. Like I don't know what's happening. This looks very weird.
Yeah,
And so you get a lot of kind of lore set up, and you get this kind of cool title screen, and I think it gets scratched. Yep, there it is. Gets some kind of scratch on it. That's nice. So, and then when you see what the actual like character and gameplay looks like, it's like this, where it's more of an
yeah.
adventure game. Push space
It's
keys, that kind of stuff. So
it looks like old sewer sharks. I don't know if you remember sewer sharks, like from back in
I
the day,
don't.
but yeah, it's a
Uh-uh.
you don't need to know. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, it's a
but yeah,
lot
it's
of text,
kind of a
very
first
lore
person
heavy, deep. Okay.
like you're in a
Okay.
cockpit of some sort.
Well, there you go. That was his second game that he directed, and then we jump right into the sequel for Metal Gear with Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake as the subtitle. And this is one I actually spent a little more time with compared to the first one because it was a little. I found it to be a little more playable,
It
but
is.
still tough. And but it had some nice quality of life things like this map you see in the top right. It did a
Hmm.
little better job with the inventory and enemy detection. And it made a little more sense. It was a little less obtuse, but still difficult. Like still, but like
Yeah.
little things like this hole in the fence that you can see down the bottom left here, like things like that. Where you realize, oh, you can crawl and get to that area. Like there was a little bit more there gameplay wise
Yeah.
to wrap your head around. Um, so I like it, but still difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
Still not
It's all
easy.
there too. Like if you want to learn about Frank Yeager and Big Boss and Zanzibar Land and all that good stuff, like all the stuff, all the key words that you're like, what are they talking
It's
about when
all
you're
there.
playing Metal Gear Solid 1 or 2? It's all in these first two games, so
Yeah,
it is interesting that he's been building this universe literally since the 80s.
I know. I know.
Pretty cool.
And I will say too, the documentary that I'll recommend a little later, that Hulu doc, he does talk about how, war impacted him and his family personally, and how
Yeah,
he didn't want to create a hero version of combat and going to war. That doesn't mean there's no fighting. It just means that's where the idea of stealth and even this gameplay early on in the 80s came into play. Like you're not the hero with the big machine gun. You're the hero who's sneaking past those guys
yeah.
or
You're
maybe
not
taking them out
Rambo.
quietly. Yeah, yeah. Just a different approach than we were used to, I think, for a action hero. And then we get to this spinoff of Snatcher called SD Snatcher, and it's
Yeah.
a I think it's like an RPG.
I don't.
I'm not really
I
sure
wish I
what
knew
this
more
is.
about the Snatcher universe, and but yeah, I don't. It kind of looks like an RPG. Yeah, I don't. It's weird.
Now he didn't
Games are
actually
very weird.
direct this one. It's a role playing game. Let's see. Okay, so this is actually a remake of Snatcher, but they turned it into a role playing game with this new
Oh,
style.
interesting. Okay.
And SD stands for Super Deformed, which is another way to reference the chibi character design. Weird. I've
Uh
never heard
huh.
of that before.
Me neither. Yeah, I'm very unfamiliar with this one.
Yeah, yeah. But he was a writer for this one, so someone else directed it and did the gameplay and the art and all that stuff. But this looks very
Hmm.
different, very unique. So anyway, that's SD Snatcher, which was I thought worth calling out. And then we get to the one you referenced before, Kyle, called Police Knots.
He's not. Yeah.
Police Knots. So this is the one where a couple of his mainstay um, partners, I guess you could say, or staff members or team members. This is where a lot of them actually started working with him. Police Knots is where some of that team that's still with him today began working
Yeah.
alongside with him, which I think is
That's
pretty cool.
awesome. He's kept his boys
Um,
close.
that's right. That's right. But this is where you got a lot of like, as you can see here in the video, a lot of dialogue choice. That was kind of new for his games, and so you were getting it was as far as I can tell, very dialogue heavy, and you're making choices and decisions and what to say and what to focus on. Um, they call it
I
a
did have
hard science fiction story.
I did have to look it up, and Yoji Shinkawa did do the art for this game, and he's done the art for every Metal Gear Solid or every Kojima game pretty much after this. So,
Dang.
this, like you said, this is like where a lot of his team was formed, and this is like where he teamed up with that famous
Yeah,
artist. So if you ever seen concept art or any of the menu screens for any Metal Gear Solid or Death Stranding game, it comes from Yoji Shinkawa.
makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. This was a another PC game or MSX2 game, but then it came to PlayStation 1, which I think this is what we're seeing here is the PS1
Hmm.
uh, version. And so since it was an adventure game, it had more capability of showing the visuals that you're seeing, where it's
Mm-hmm.
all just kind of it's easier to do this when you're not controlling everything on the screen, you know.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
kind of
Looks good. Looks good for its age.
it does, yeah, not bad. All right, and then we move into well, okay. There's another series I couldn't find good video on. I could only find people talking about it a lot, or like streamers with their faces on there real big. It's called Tokimeki Memorial Drama Series. There's
Oh
volumes one
yeah.
and two.
I
It's an
don't know
anime
anything about
series.
that one.
Yeah, it's a. I think it's another kind of adventure, um, interactive novel kind of thing. I think he was just a producer on that though. He didn't
Okay,
direct it or write
okay.
it. But all right, well, let's get to the real stuff, Kyle. Let's get to Metal Gear Solid.
Man.
This is the OG. Now this is even widescreen. So to me, it didn't even. I don't remember it looking like this even. So this is kind of a widescreen view. Like I still remember it being the
Yeah.
4:3, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
I don't
this
know how they did
was
that
a
because
apps.
even in the new collection, it's still in 4:3. So I don't know how this is in
Yeah, they
widescreen,
might
but
have just
whatever. Yeah.
whoever recorded this. The channel's called Source Spy 91. I wonder
Mm-hmm.
if they literally just cropped the top and bottom, or if it might be stretched. It looks like it could be a little stretched now
Could
that
be
I'm
stretched.
looking at it. Yeah, but yeah, man, Metal Gear Solid was a literal game changer. It was an industry changer, like
Mm-hmm.
completely. And you said this is the first one of his you played, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is the first one, first game
How
ever,
many times do you
and
think
like
you've played this game
instant.
through?
Oh my god, I don't know. 100? I don't know. Yeah, a real
Yeah,
number. If I had to put a real number to it, I don't know. 30, 25, 30.
that's a
You know.
lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
long. You know, I can
Yeah,
I
this
can
this
run
playthrough is
through
like a 7-hour video that we're looking at right here. We're just looking at
I
part
can
of
run
it.
through like 2, 3, and 4 like with my eyes closed. So I'm 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like I
One,
just
two,
I've
three,
beaten
and
them
four.
so many
Yeah.
times, and like there's just a way to run through it each one of those in a quick manner where it's like yeah if you really want to get through them it is easy, especially if you're skipping
Yeah.
cutscenes and dialogue and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a such an impactful game for me too, because I didn't play it till later. But when I did finally play it, I realized what I was missing out on. And then of course I jumped into two after that and three. By then I was a mega fan. And it's
Yeah.
only because four is stuck on the PS3 that I haven't played that. Otherwise I would have played it.
I know a
But
lot of people who feel the same or have the same experience where I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan. I've never played 4 because I never owned a 3. You know, I'm like, okay,
yeah,
yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's
yeah.
entombed over there. So,
Still strange to
um,
me that it hasn't been part of any collection. They haven't brought it up to
yeah, yeah, bring it
PS5
back.
even.
Yeah, and it's divisive. So, like, I always encourage people who haven't played it. I'm like, I would love to hear people's thoughts on it because, like, people who don't like it, I'm like, I get it. It's a weird one, and it's very
it's
like
a
fan servicey, not in the like how anime people use it and where it's like oh it's like horny or whatever. No, it's fan servicey and like if you've never played a Metal Gear Solid before, you can't play that game. Like it
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
make
yeah.
sense. It is
Yeah.
literally for the fans.
Well, I'm watching this gameplay of one, and it's reminding me how groundbreaking the gameplay was too. Yes, the story and the
Yeah,
the commentary on warfare for sure, and corruption and nuclear weaponry and all that stuff. Those are all impactful. But shifting down to over the shoulder third person, these kind of shifts right here, where it's helping you with stealth to get good angles on where the enemies are, and the different tools that were available to you. It was all pretty groundbreaking stuff as far as like console gaming at least. Maybe some
they
PC games had some of
the
this.
word cinematic got thrown around a lot for this game, and like even like that scene right there where he's hiding behind the pillar and like the camera changes. It's a cinematic
Yeah.
camera shift. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so, it's just like the cinema wasn't just in the cutscenes and people talking at each other. It was baked
Yeah,
into
like
the
this right here,
gameplay.
this little idea of like pivoting, you can see it zoom and turn, and then it
Yeah,
zooms and turns back. Like I know it's a little touch, and we take all that stuff for granted now, but that was all very new to most of us
yeah,
playing
oh
games.
yeah. I mean, for the longest time, games like didn't exist if you weren't looking in that direct. You know what I mean? Like the game wasn't even
Exactly.
coded if you weren't looking, in the direction that your character was seeing or whatever. So it's like
Yeah.
everything kind of loaded in depending on your perspective. But this was like, I don't know, this was just really ahead of its time. I didn't have a PlayStation when this game came out, so I was over at a friend's house. He showed it to me and he's like, "You gotta check this game out." It was the demo at the time from
Yeah.
PlayStation Underground or whatever, which is just this first level on the helipad. And I mean, I must have played that thing until the disc wore out. And then when he got the game, I was like, I'm coming over, we're beating this game. And like,
Uh,
all the Psycho Mantis stuff, and you're unplugging controllers, and again the music and the dialogue, the voice
yeah,
acting. I'd
man.
never seen anything like it in my entire life. I mean,
It
it
was mind
was
blowing. You know,
I cannot express enough how much like it literally changed how I like interact with video games. Like it just
yep,
it's very wild to me.
completely agree. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Now, after Metal Gear, he did do some console ports. He produced some console ports of Beatmania, and then another entry. He was a supervisor for another entry in that anime series I mentioned, Tokimeki.
Mm.
So did some Beatmania and other stuff in between Metal Gear Solid, and I guess he also produced Zone of the Enders, which I didn't realize he was a producer on that.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah.
That's another Konami game.
Some of the
But
Enders
then, of
rocks.
course, we get to Metal Gear Solid 2, which was, I mean, just night and day.
Yeah.
Crazy how this
It's like
game
the
looks.
graphics like still look good to me. Like this still
Now,
looks
this, of
pretty good.
course, is an H. I think I'm pretty sure this is an HD touch up. It's got to be
I'm
right from
sure.
the
I'm
PS2.
sure. Yeah, this looks like an HD touch up, yeah. But like it was great when it came out, you know, and it
It
still looks
was,
good.
yeah,
You know, just again, he just took it to the next level in terms of like capturing like a cinematic tone.
yep.
Um, and just God, this game really blew me away. It's my first PlayStation 2 game. Was this game? I bought a PlayStation 2 just so I could play this game.
For this game, right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you mentioned all the angles. Look at even as you're moving around. I remember this. Like the camera angle would just shift all the time. You'd go into a room and go
yeah.
overhead, then it would go sideways, and then it would go kind of isometric or zoom out or zoom in.
You
And
can
so
shoot
it,
bad guys' radios in this game and it breaks them. We don't do
yeah,
that today. Like that's like
yeah,
that we don't even do that today. Like it's just
right,
it is so many ideas, shadows and all this stuff that he really had so many Easter eggs and like fun stuff with like showcasing shadows and everything. And it's just I don't know. He was having a ball with this game, and this is
yeah,
another. This is probably my favorite one in the series to this day. It's just, and I don't know if it's because of the story or whatever, but or just the time that I played it. But like, this is the one that like really I just absolutely love to play, and this is one I've probably beaten the most too. I could probably bump that 25 or 30 up to like 40 or 50 with this one. So
dang, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yep.
just so many times.
Yeah, this is another one that's in the 7 to 8 hour ish range. If you kind of know what you're doing, you could play it that quickly.
Yeah,
It might
you
take you
can
a little
run through it.
longer if you don't know what you're doing. So they're not super lengthy games. That doesn't mean you're going to understand all of it, by the way, if you do decide to
No,
dive into
2 I had to
these.
play it wasn't until, like,
But
my 4th playthrough that I was like, "Oh, I think I understand, half of this." Yeah, like
yeah, yeah. So this one to me is where it went from being like, oh, Metal Gear Solid is something special to all of a sudden, oh, this is he's like the he's like the king at this
yeah.
point. Like once he
Well,
made
and
two, I just felt like he could do whatever he wanted from that point on.
he this is the beginning of, like, Troll Kojima too, where, like, you didn't realize you were playing as some blonde boy, you know, for half this game or more than half this
Right. What
game
we're
for
seeing is the
3/4 of this
beginning
game.
where you're still Snake,
And
right?
this is all he showed in the promotional material. So whenever they were marketing this movie, you never saw Raiden, and then suddenly 2 hours into the game, you're playing as some weirdo, and like people hated it, and he loved that people hated it, which became kind
Yeah.
of his thing, where he's just like, I like it whenever my fans are mad, and I like it like when I like to pull one over on people, and it's just he's a big troll, you know, and he does all that
Yep.
stuff to this day. So
Yeah, of course later you're playing as this Blondie. Now you're doing most of the same things, it just felt different. It was weird.
yeah,
Honestly a little off-putting when at first if you weren't ready for
yes,
it.
it is. Yeah,
But
like he's arguing with his girlfriend for half this game, and you're like, I hate this, and I'm like, you're supposed to.
right.
Like, the
Yeah.
whole game is about how much you can stress out, right? You know, a soldier before they reach their breaking point. So it's like, you know, again, like once you kind of realize the subtext and the themes of this game, you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be mad through half of this game.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and whether or not you like that or not is in the eye of the beholder. But yeah, people who like the weird
Agreed.
crap like me, you know, I loved it.
Let's get weird. All right.
Let's
Well,
get
he
weird.
decided to take it a different direction while they were working on Metal Gear Solid 3, which would come out 3 years later. They were working on other games too. Now, he was only the producer for a few of these, but I thought they were worth highlighting. One of them actually has 4 games in the series, this Boktai series,
Boktai, yeah.
where
That's the one
you're
where
at the be
you have to be in the sunlight, right? Like there was a
That's right.
sunlight sensor,
Even at the
yeah.
beginning, I think it's see if I can find it. I think at the beginning it said something about uh it kind of explained it, I think. Here it is. There's a solar sensor.
Yeah.
There was something at the very beginning of this for the Game Boy Advance where it tells you there it is. Sunlight hit the solar sensor on the game pack. You can enjoy many effects in
Uh-huh.
Boktai. And so it's got this sensor on there, and of course, people in the comments talking about how they figured out how to use a black light to like fake the sun and keep playing at night, all that kind of
People were
stuff.
so much smarter than I was as a kid. Like I didn't know that. Yeah.
I know, really funny.
Also, kind of
Um,
trolly still because I don't know if you tried to play a Game Boy in the sunlight before, direct sunlight. Not easy.
Dude,
Yeah,
the
washes out
screen is
that screen.
not
So
bright. The
yeah,
screen is not bright. Yeah, but this is kind of what the gameplay itself looked like. It's kind of this isometric, action adventure game. Uh, but of course, your powers could be really limited by or boosted by sunlight in the real world. So really interesting take. Now he made 4 games. They made 4 games in this series, which he operated as producer for at least a few of them, including a DS entry called Lunar Nights, which I guess I just didn't
oh,
really.
Lunar Nights, yeah.
Oh, this is on the PlayScope channel here, but Lunar Nights was the 4th entry in the Boktai series, which I didn't realize. I'll
That's
skip ahead
rad.
here a little bit. Yeah, here's Lunar Nights. There's a trailer for it at least. So yeah, it was a DS game from 20,
Yeah, I
2006.
played all of these, but never beat any of them. But
Yeah. Okay.
very
Okay.
unique, very weird games.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, let's talk about Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. This is just a trailer for it, of course. But one thing we'll experience later this year is seems like a full remake of this. I'm very curious to see how they handle it and if,
Yeah,
generally speaking, if hardcore fans love it. Now, this is the same guy, me talking, who enjoyed a game we skipped over, which was Twin Snakes, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. I
love
liked
Twin
that game.
Snakes. Yeah.
I guess I didn't know better because a lot of people hate it, and
Oh man, people they're purists, like they're purists. And
I
I will
guess,
admit
yeah,
that like Twin Snakes is if like I what if we got Michael Bay to tell the story of Metal Gear Solid? He's
that's fair.
flipping off of missiles. He's like it's just over the top and crazy. But like I kind of
Yeah.
always likened it to being like somebody telling the legend of Solid Snake, so it's embellished and
Okay,
crazy
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know,
Well,
I
that's a good way
bought
to
into
look
it
at it.
really quick.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, so while they're,
Silicon Knights for that one.
he's producing stuff like that, he's overseeing some things like that, but then he's really working on and directing this, which was this incredibly epic game that again, I thought we were just going to continue the story, but they, at least for me as someone who wasn't following all the news and the production info, I just saw that it was coming out in some gaming magazine and then I bought it and I started playing it. I didn't know until the game fired up that it was going to be set way back in the day. I didn't know that we were seeing younger versions of characters. Like I didn't know that until I got into it. And I was
Yeah,
like, this is amazing.
that's
This
super cool.
crazy prequel that's
Well,
telling more of the story.
and we didn't, no one knew because I was really dialed in at by this point. This is like his first foray into like 10 plus minute trailers too. This is like kind of where it all started was the marketing with three. And yeah, it's a wild one because he never said you're playing as Big Boss, like so it's like, is there
Right.
time travel or something? Like how am I he just didn't explain any of it. So everyone all got taken for another ride, a Kojima ride, if you will, with the marketing. So when everyone booted it up, we were like, "Oh my god, are you playing as Big Boss in this game?" Again, a figure who you would only know of if you played the originals, because you never really
Right.
see him in one or two. They talk about him a lot, obviously, but yeah, it's just super cool. And this is the best one in most people's head. Like this is the socially
It's my
accepted,
favorite.
culturally best one. And like I
It's my
agree.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
my
I I,
favorite one.
I think objectively it is the best one. I may have a different favorite, but like this is I
Yep.
think it has the best mechanics, has the best music, has the best it's the best everything.
Yeah.
A
Yeah, it's so
cohesive
good.
story. Two's like really weird. Three's like a little more kind of like I don't want to say generic spy, but like followable, digestible spy,
Right.
thriller.
Right. With a
With
twist
some
that you can follow even if you don't know all the lore, that kind of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and like
Mhm.
you may have some questions like why is this guy controlling bees and stuff like that, but like yeah, you can just let that go and and
Yep.
just kind of go
Yep.
along for the
Agreed.
ride. So
Agreed. Yeah, I cannot wait for the remake of this Delta, which comes out in August. So really
yeah,
excited for that. It's honestly just like 6 weeks away, 7 weeks away.
it's not
It's
far.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, during the same year they released, he was executive producer on Metal Gear Acid, which I did
Oh
not
yeah.
play. Um,
PlayStation Portable. Yeah,
yeah, or I think I actually maybe I did play this one. Was this a card game?
it's a card game. Yeah,
Yeah, I did play this one a little
deck
bit. It was on
building game.
PSP. I did play this
Yeah,
one a little bit. Yeah, yeah, this one was interesting. I
it's
played
very
two on the
interesting.
PSP. I played that one and this one, Portable Ops, a little bit. This is the
Portable Ops
IGN
is so
review.
Portable Ops is really good, and this was the first game that I realized I was like maybe because I think he just produced. I don't think he had much to do with this game, and it's like
Produced it.
This
Yeah.
is this is like maybe we can live in a world where we're making Metal Gear Solid games without him, which I know is
Yeah.
sacrilegious to say. Some Kojimaites out there are probably having an aneurysm right now, but like this was a really good game with actually a
It
really
was a
good
good game.
story and
Yeah.
tied in some really interesting ways. And you meet Roy
Got all the
Campbell in
different
this
outfits you
game.
could wear. I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's just it's good. And it was like a technical masterpiece, like on the PlayStation Portable. Like it was just absolutely crazy
Yes.
that you could get this, put on that thing.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. So the Portable Ops was a really, really solid game. So, and this is a review from IGN from 14 years ago.
Wow. Rolled.
So, and even that was 5 years after it actually released. So they must have posted
Oh,
this video.
jeez.
So it's a 2006 game, Portable Ops. All right, and then we move on to Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots. Now, before we get into this is another IGN video review video. There's other things he produced that I don't recognize, like Kabushiki Bye Bye Trainer. I don't know what that is,
Mm-mm.
but he helped produce
Sounds
other
fake.
things I think are probably, it does sound fake. It's probably other Konami projects that he's helped on, like Shin Bokura no
Mm.
Taiyo. I don't know what any of these things are.
I've heard of that
So
one. I'm
I'm
not familiar with it though.
okay. Yeah, so these are other games where he operated as producer. I know he was a major producer throughout Konami. It's not like he only
Konami
did his
tapped
own
him a lot.
projects.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
tapped him a
yeah,
lot for stuff, and his name carried a lot of weight by this time too. So it's
for
like
sure.
when you see his name just on like Bokutai or whatever, you're like, oh, a
Yep,
Kojima game, and it's like doesn't really have much to do with it, but like
yep.
he
Well,
did
there was
keep
a Metal
things
Gear
on track.
Acid
And
2 as well.
yeah, yeah, there sure was.
Yeah, so he produced that one as well. And also, as he's working on Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots, he also was a supervisor and helped get the um, what was it? Super Smash Bros. Brawl level for Shadow Moses
Oh
Island.
yeah, yeah. I forgot he helped
He
make
actually
that or whatever.
designed
Yeah,
that stage.
that's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, good for
There
him.
was a Metal Gear Solid mobile game that he supervised as well, which I don't know much
Yeah,
about that.
I think it was
Kyle's
a
familiar with that.
4 spin-off, like a shooter type of game, like on iPhone or whatever. I remember that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
The fun thing about 4 is he didn't want to do it, so he another person was in the director role for the longest time, and like he checked in one day and was just like, no, and like took over and directed it himself. And I remember he was really mad during the production of this because there's you wouldn't know because you haven't played it, but there's a level in Berlin and it's all stealth and you're in the middle of a city, and he wanted like a crowd mechanic, and everybody who was working on that game was like, we can't get that to work. And that same year, what's her face who directed the first Assassin's Creed showed up at E3 and showed off their crowd mechanic,
is
and
that
Kojima like
Jade?
literally Jade Fox or Jade something
I
like
can't
that.
remember her
Yeah, the
name.
Jade's whatever. Yeah, that you're right with their first name though. Yeah, it showed off that game, and he was completely floored and also livid that they couldn't crack that. Ended up befriending her and like picking her brain on how to like do crowd mechanics right and stuff like that. Didn't make it into the game, sadly. The game was too far along, but nice little kind of lore there where someone kind of beat Kojima to the punch on something, in terms of cool mechanics. And yeah, now crowd mechanics are another thing we take for granted, but yeah, we forget that Assassin's Creed kind of like really locked into that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hang on, my Chrome just got real funky on me and froze up. There we go. Can you see it? Is it moving now? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's moving.
Chrome just got
This
weird
game
on
is
me.
absolutely fantastic. I'll never understand why like this game didn't like resonate with people, fans alike. Again, I said it was kind of like fun for fans, but fans are split on this one. But
Mm.
it's really, really, really good, and the story's insane. Pretty followable for the most part. But yeah, it's a if you've been along for the ride the whole entire time, you're gonna see and hear a lot of things you've been waiting to see wrap up or get touched on or whatever. And it really interested for all the people who didn't get to play it before. Hopefully, getting to play it during a Legacy Collection Part 2 or whatever, if we ever get that.
Yeah, I would love to play this game. I would absolutely play it, even if it's in its current state. And hey, we just upresed it a little bit for PS5 or
It
something.
looks great, man. I
I would play
played
it.
it just a few years ago, and it's still a great looking game.
You had to pull out the old
Yeah,
PS3 for that, didn't you?
and he got the show. Like everyone crapped on Raiden all during Metal Gear Solid 2, so that he's like, I'll show them. He makes him the coolest character in this game. Like,
Yeah,
he's so
yeah.
incredibly cool in this game, and you're like, dang it, do I like this guy? Um,
I like how
yeah,
up
I'm
here it even says Old Snake up in the top left. Like
he's
that's
old. Yeah,
he's Old Snake. Yeah,
he's old. People were
that's
mad about
amazing.
it. People don't like their superheroes getting old, you know.
It's
So
true. It's true.
we
You
still
know,
don't
one that
like
I
that
didn't
sort of
add to
thing.
this list, Kyle, is Metal Gear Online, which launched at the same time
Oh
as Metal
yeah,
Gear Solid 4, which I know has
yeah,
had a long shelf life and a lot of kind of like I don't know, imaginings of different kinds. I don't know.
yeah.
And I think it still might still, I'm not sure if it's active now, but I feel like it might still be active now.
We're
I
getting
could be wrong.
a new version of it in Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, so or Delta.
Okay.
So, it is a beloved, although pretty very niche, type of
Yeah.
multiplayer thing. It's not knocking down Fortnite numbers by any means, but
Yeah. Makes sense.
it is very unique and very interesting. A lot of like 1v5 roles, modes, like where someone's Snake and everybody else are like people, and like they're in. Forget one mode was like all the soldiers are in first person and Snake is in third person, and it's
Huh.
5v1, and like there's just some really cool and interesting ideas. He never
That they
wants
did
to.
before
Again,
everyone
he's,
else did
he's
them.
he's never chasing trends, like he's
Yeah.
always trying to march to the beat of his own drum, and even his online stuff like kind of spoke that way
Yep.
as well. The Octo camo, just laying on stuff
Well,
and grabbing its details. This game is so fun.
yeah, I gotta play it. Well, in 2010, he was executive producer of Castlevania: Lords of Shadow, so another
Yeah,
Konami game.
fantastic game.
But then he also directed, produced, and wrote Peace Walker. Here we go.
Peace
The
Walker
Avengers.
is a fan favorite. Yeah, Vita game, very 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 good. Gameplay heavy, Monster Hunter esque, where you're going out and fighting like big bosses, and they drop materials and use those
Yep.
materials to make stuff. So
I
yeah,
think
very
this was
Monster
the
Hunter esque.
HD remaster that they put out on something else. I'm not sure what else
Hmm.
they put it out on. This
And
trailer we're looking
really,
at here, I
really, this
think,
is
was
like Metal
Monster
Gear
Hunter.
Solid 5 is a sequel to this, like it is like, so when we talk about Metal Gear Solid 5, like all these characters are all in 5, Chico and what's her face? I forget her name now. The original Huey, yeah, so like that's pretty cool. Like he really Kojima really 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 thought a lot of this game in terms of its impact on characters and stuff like that, which is weird because this game's really story light. It's more gameplay.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, the HD collection had 2, 3, and Peace Walker all on like PlayStation 3, 360. Yeah. And so this was
Yeah,
part of that.
yeah,
Very cool. So that was, of course, he only has a couple Metal Gear games left before he signs off, but we have to highlight Revengeance, which is one I know you've talked about a bit, Kyle, as a
yeah,
really fun character action game built with Platinum Games, right? They worked on it
yeah,
together.
yep.
Because he actually was the supervising director for this, which sounds like a little bit of a different role than what he'd normally play.
Yeah, I think he had again very little to do with this, but like he really helped to market it. I know he checked in on the studio from time to time, but like he kind of let this studio kind of do what they needed to. At the time, Platinum was only making good games. I know they're kind of been up and down since then,
Fair.
more ups
Yeah.
than downs, but yeah, some downs for sure. But yeah, like they were really on top of it then. And this game is wacky, man. You end up fighting a like politician at the end of this game who's been memed to hell, over the
Yeah.
years. Big
Armstrong or
buff
whatever his
guy.
name
Yeah,
is.
Armstrong. Yeah, I can't believe remember that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another one that's all boss fights. It's really has the Metal Gear spirit baked into it. When boss fights were a big part of like the DNA of this series, where the boss fights really like that's where kind of like a lot of his game design really shined, and this game really leaned into that. And this was like a sequel to 4, so it's like if you wanted to know what the world was like after 4, I don't know if it's canon. I mean, we could argue about that all day. I don't really know what the official take on that is, but it is
Yeah.
fun. It's wacky. It's stupid. And
Yeah. Like
it's a good
ultra
time.
violent where you're dismembering people and
So
stuff.
violent, yeah, and then
Yeah.
like a sword mechanic that just hasn't even been replicated ever since, with the kind of
Yeah.
slow down, slice, and choose what angle you're coming in at. So very
That's
cool.
awesome. Yeah. Love it. Well, and then we get Kyle to the forgotten Kojima game, PT.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So he was the
Um,
director game designer for this. Everyone thought it was like the Silent Hill remake or whatever. Did it ever get
yeah.
confirmed as anything more than
Yes,
it just a demo?
this was Silent Hill for sure. Yeah, he was tapped to do the
Okay.
next Silent Hill. This was his like proof of concept for it. Norman Reedus was going to be the star of it. It was going to be about people's like afterlives that they go to, and Silent Hill was kind of like Everyone kind of had their own Silent Hill, which was their version of the afterlife. These are all
Wow.
ideas that became Death Stranding. Those he just changed the name to Beaches.
Beaches.
Norman
There you go.
Reedus
Yeah, yeah,
taking Norman Reedus from that and putting him into that. Norman Reedus having a dead child and a dead wife and stuff like that. Like literally, he took every single thing, and like when he got fired, he took all of it and ran with
yeah.
those ideas, and was able to incorporate
Yep,
that stuff. So that's pretty cool. But this game was
yep.
great. Did you ever play PT?
I never did. I know it was a
So
huge deal, and I know
scary.
that once it
Oh,
was decommissioned, then people were just selling their consoles that still had it installed for a lot of money, and I'm sure that still happens. You know, if you want to play PT, you have to purchase a console or something, or maybe get it, you
hmm
know, more illegitimate ways. But yeah, I never did try. That was in 2014. That was 11 years ago. PT came out. It's a long time.
yeah, yeah.
All right,
That is a long time.
and then we get to the most recent Metal Gear game that the most recent Kojima game that I have played and finished. Played it a lot, did a lot of the extra stuff, and that is Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Of course, we had Ground
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Zeroes.
did you play Ground Zero? Did you play that one?
I did. I did.
I like
Yeah.
Ground Zeroes a lot. Yeah.
And I guess being the non-knowledgeable Metal Gear guy that I am, I didn't know that they were that separate from each other. I thought it was kind of like an intro to The Phantom
Yeah.
Pain.
It is. You're right. Yeah, that's I mean you're right, but yeah, they are kind of like they're separate SKUs, I guess if we want to use
Right.
like, industry terms or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, like,
Well, I hear
it's
people talking about them differently too. Loved Ground Zeroes, hated Phantom Pain
yeah,
type stuff.
yeah. I think because Ground Zeroes was a little more traditional Metal Gear, where it's you're sneaking into a base and it's a giant base and there's a lot of different ways you can do it and yada yada. And five just
Hmm.
kind of became more of a like an open world kind of I don't immersive sim almost where you can like do
Yeah.
like kind of like Deus Ex or something like that, where it's like I can do this however I want. Do I want to run in guns blaze? Do I
It
want to
felt
do
more like a
that?
mercenary going out on these missions and stuff. It just had a
Yeah.
different feel to it. Hmm.
Yeah, and they
Hmm.
did have different vibes. I mean, one I'm sorry, Ground Zeroes just kind of felt a little maybe a little more like the stealth actiony type of stuff
Yes.
that we were used to, and then five just a different vibe.
I loved this though. I loved doing the Fulton system. I
It's great.
liked the exfiltration missions. I liked the crazy supernatural stuff that started to kick in towards the end because it got kind of creepy and hard. Like the game got much more difficult at that point. Um, but I loved it. I thought it was a
I
great
like the
game. Now
opening
that
a
doesn't mean,
lot, like with
yeah,
the like flaming whale in the sky, and like
yeah,
like there's just a lot of weird stuff going on in the beginning of that. Volgan shows up and he's on
that's
fire,
right.
and you're like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yep. You got Quiet, the sniper.
Yeah,
No controversy around her character at all. It's great.
not at all.
It's
Yeah,
great.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Again, kink of controversy here. He was like, I made her to be sexy so girls would cosplay as her at anime conventions. I'm like, you pig. And they did. She's
But
still
yeah,
one
but
of
the way
those
he
like
said it was probably
cosplay
still
girls. Yeah.
somehow humble and charming, and it made it
Yeah,
okay.
it
You know what I
was.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was his final project with Konami, and
Yeah.
definitely has its own element of divisiveness, whether it's the gameplay or doesn't feel right, or new voice actor for Snake. You got Kiefer Sutherland
Mhm.
doing the voice acting now. So lots of things that made this one a hard pill to swallow for some folks.
Yeah, and the Konami controversy, them striking
The
his name as
Konami
the director
stuff.
from this, so like there's a
Yeah.
lot of like nebulous nature, and we'll never know the answers to these of how much he actually directed this game. There are
Yep.
rumors that he was sequestered from the team the entirety of this game, which is maybe why it feels so different. Whereas Ground Zeroes, he was the lead director and hands on completely, so like
That's
that's another
crazy. He's
reason why
still
this
listed
game
as
feels
the
so.
main director, producer, game designer, writer for
He is,
both.
yeah, but like whenever on the like boxes and like whenever the
Yeah.
menu started up, like that's where they struck his name from all that stuff.
Interesting. Yeah. So
So
who knows what
yeah,
was, I mean, and he doesn't seem to be one who's ready to like badmouth Konami at
no,
this
I
point in his
think
life. So,
Japanese are very like they don't like I just don't think it's in a lot of their natures in the business
yeah, there's
realm
an
of
element of
Japan to
honor to
like
how he's treating
yeah,
them.
yeah,
That's
I don't know,
nice.
like that's it's most of his career, so I don't know if he wants to
Yeah.
go out of his way to be like villainize anybody or anything like that.
Yeah.
And
That makes
who
sense.
knows? I heard stuff that a lot of it was his fault. Like I heard that he was over budget and over time, so it's like everyone's got everyone's the villain in somebody else's story here, so if you
Yeah.
want to go down the rabbit hole, there are a lot of like tidbits out there, but there's not a cohesive story, sadly, to know exactly what happened with that situation. And again, we'll probably never
Yeah.
know. I would die to have that documentary, but we'll probably never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, same here. I'd
But
love to
yeah,
see behind the scenes.
we've all heard my opinions on Metal Gear Solid 5, but like there are a lot of things to really like about this game.
Yeah,
And I think that the companion system's fantastic. I think the gameplay
yeah,
is, to this day, I'm still chasing a third person shooter feeling like this. I don't think we'll ever have anything like this. I think the Fox engine is the most perfect video game engine ever made. We'll never see it
it's
used ever
great.
again.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's
stuck. It's
just
sitting in a
there is
vault somewhere.
there's a lot of, yeah, it's making pachinko machines. That's what it's being used for. I'm not even kidding about that either.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, there is a lot to like about Metal Gear Solid 5, and it is the most well reviewed, I think, even to
Yeah,
this day, game of his. So it
yeah,
is
yeah,
a critical darling, and
yeah. I
it
love
might
it.
just.
Part of me is glad that I don't bring any of the major fandom into it. Or I guess the knowledge is a better way to put it, because I was able to ignorantly enjoy all of it, start to finish, without like that
Mhm.
thing hanging over my head of like, ooh, the way they treated Kojima, or ooh, this
Yeah,
isn't quite right for Metal Gear. I was like, this is great, I love it. So I just
yeah,
enjoyed
yeah.
it, start to finish. Yeah, I
There's
love
a
that
thing that
game.
I like about Kojima games where it's like I know when I can put a controller down, for a couple hours because like the series of cutscenes are about to kick off, and like that's just not what this game was. They were going for something different with this. I think he was responding to a lot of criticisms about his games being too movie-y, and whether that was Konami's decision
Mm.
or Kojima's decision, a lot of that stuff is gone. So there aren't a lot of cutscenes in this game. I think Kiefer Sutherland has like 120 lines of dialogue. He doesn't talk much at all. So it is just a game that just doesn't follow the formula of Metal Gear Solid that maybe a lot of people love. But I don't know if that's a criticism. I think that's just a
That's fair.
preference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Well, talking about games that, I don't know if divided is the right word, but confused some folks and certainly felt niche until it started to slowly build an audience. We finally get to Kojima Productions and the launch of Death Stranding in
Yeah.
2019. So Kojima parted from Konami and launched his own studio. Really couldn't find a lot of people that were willing to take a chance on him without knowing what he was making, because he didn't want to tell anyone. But
Yeah.
Sony was like, hey, for all the times we make fun of Sony, they were the good guys here. They were like, we'll give you whatever you want to make whatever you want. So
Freaking
they
Mark
made it
Cerny and
happen.
him went on a hunt for an engine, together. They traveled the
Yeah,
world and were welcomed into all these studios, and that's how they decided on
that's right.
the Horizon Decima engine from Gorilla. That's why that partnership got made. So it is interesting that like Sony even went out of its way to be like, we're going to give you a high VIP chaperone to write you a check and follow you around the world and pick out some cool engine for you too. They were very
Mm-hmm.
hands on with getting his production company off the ground while still allowing him to be completely autonomous. He is still considered
Yep.
a indie's not the right word, but an independent
Independent.
developer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. But they certainly got him off the ground, which is why we're seeing Death Stranding. We saw Death Stranding 1 as an exclusive to PlayStation 4, right? For a little
Hmm.
while.
Yep.
And then it eventually came to PC. Did it come to Xbox eventually too?
It did just like 4 months ago. Yeah, very
Yeah,
recently.
recently. Recently.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which we'll talk about here in a minute. We'll get Kyle's full thoughts on that as we pivot away from Kojima history. Also is a PlayStation exclusive on the PS5. Undoubtedly will hit PC. We'll see if it ever hits other platforms, but certainly will hit PC at some point in the future. But Death Stranding was it was another attempt of Kojima, and you see this, by the way, in the Hulu documentary, which I recommend, called Connecting Worlds. It's mostly about this game. Now it's a lot. It touches. He talks a little bit about his childhood and his parents and going into gaming, and they mention some of his earlier games. But it really focuses a lot on the cameras are following him and his team at Kojima Productions, and they're showing the actors, whether it's Troy Baker or Norman Reedus and all these other actors that are kind of trying to figure out like what the heck is this about, like, and they even laugh about like how it doesn't make sense, but they trust him, and so it's a really good documentary, I think, if you want just a little glimpse into the inner workings of Kojima now,
Hmm.
of how he and his team are functioning. So that's Death Stranding. We're seeing kind of this launch trailer, the PS4 launch trailer from 2019. But let's talk Death Stranding 2. Now, Kyle, I'm going to put up the final trailer that
Hmm.
launched just 2 days ago. This crazy baby coming up the throat always creeps me out. Whatever that
Yeah.
is. Anyway, um, so so Death Stranding 2 on the beach is out. So this is, yes, part of Kojima history, but we're also pivoting to to the new thing for this week. This is the main
Yeah.
thing that launched this week. You were able to get early access to it because you pre-ordered whatever special edition, right?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
correct? Okay.
I know. I
So
just started talking about how he doesn't chase industry trends, and here he is putting something early access behind a paywall.
yeah,
So
early access if you pay a
what
little
do
bit
I know?
more.
I don't even know
What
what
do
I'm talking
you
about
know?
half the time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so why don't you talk a little bit about what you think so far? If you want, if it's distracting, we can always take this video off. This is just the final trailer, so we can always turn this
No,
off
it's
if it's
okay. I'm
helpful.
having some camera problems on my end, but I will
Yeah, your camera's
fix
just
that.
trying to
Why?
focus.
Yeah, just constantly, and I don't know why. You
It's all right. You
almost
can
never
just
do
ignore it.
this, so.
Don't worry about it. We got the video on.
So yeah, I'll anyways, yeah, I'm about 20 hours in. My percentage on PlayStation says I'm about 40% through the game, which, feels about right or whatever. I think the first game was like, anywhere between 40 and 60, depending on how much we want to go through or whatever. And it's good, I just want to say immediately that it's the safest he's ever been.
Mm.
This is a sequel that fine tunes a lot of things, but doesn't like continue the trend of like taking like really big chances. Because I think the first game was a big chance. I mean, he created a whole genre,
Yeah.
so I just don't know how much more there was to like create off of this like tree.
Yeah. It's hard.
So
It's a hard pitch. Like, I want to make a game that's mostly about delivering.
yeah, yeah.
What? A
It
triple
is
A
weird,
game
yeah,
about
and like,
delivery?
yeah, and you're like having to stop and redo your cargo so you don't fall over and stuff like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a hard pitch, and
Yeah.
I just, I think that I've seen a lot of criticisms for this game from players, and I agree with them. I don't know if I would call them criticisms, I don't know if I feel as negative about them, should I say, but I'm aware of them and I've observed that, and I do agree that there is a feeling of safety with this game in terms of it just like not being the big swing that the first one was. But again, I think
I gotcha.
the first one was a big enough swing for a couple of games, I would say.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so what it does best is fine tunes everything. It finds ways to just make everything feel better. I will say that Kojima is known for kind of like, I don't want to say wonky controls, but like deep mechanics. Like just like even like five, there's a lot of like there's just a lot of tools, there's a lot of ways to go
Yes.
about using things. Everything's kind of buried in like menus, but menus that kind of like pause the game quickly while you pull stuff out of the ether to use or whatever.
Yep.
But like once you get it feels intuitive, you know what I mean? So that is nice. It does feel intuitive. And this game, like jumping right back into it, even though the first game took a little bit of time to like kind of get used to everything, just like putting on a comfortable slipper. I'm just like, oh yeah,
Oh,
no, I get
nice.
this. Everything feels great. I don't know why, because no game plays like this. So being a couple years removed, it should feel weird and alien to me, but it just fell right back into it. And yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff going on in this game. It starts off really quickly. I think the first game, I heard a lot that like you just got to get to the first 10 hours and that game gets good. I'm not saying that's not true, but there is a lot to set up in that first game. There's a lot of introductions to the world and world building and characters, but also the mechanics and you getting used to like what a Stranding game is and is
Mm.
this just a delivery game? And I'm not allowed to kill people, but there's still combat and bosses. There's just a lot. And this game doesn't have to do any of that. It's already been done. So like it can get right into it, and it
Yeah.
does. And I like it. I like the way that the game starts off. You have kind of Mexico as like a kind of introductory level to kind of get you used to everything. Then you get shipped off to Australia, so you're not even an American in this game, but you're doing the same thing. You are the people who did not like the first game. I just don't know if this one's gonna win you over either. It is the
I
same
will tell
game,
you though,
you know.
that pizza clip we just now saw of him
Yeah,
fighting the pizza
yeah.
man, you sent me
It's the
this.
best. Yeah, I
This
had
right
to send
here,
it. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things I've seen with
yeah,
no context. I have no idea
yeah.
the context around it. I can kind of guess
I
a few
haven't
of the
even gotten to
pieces,
this
but
part yet. Yeah, so like I
but
still don't
it
know what the
is
context is.
so funny. Like, I recommend people go watch it. Go look up Death Stranding 2 Pizza Man
Pizza
fight
fight.
scene.
Yeah.
And I promise you, unless you're a genius and you can piece together things no one else can, you will not be spoiled on the overall Death Stranding 2 story just from doing this. All you'll
No.
know is he walks into the back kitchen of some pizza being made and apparently disrespects the pizza, and so they fight. and it's awesome,
Yeah.
and it's
Right,
really well
right.
choreographed, and it's
It's
very
funny,
funny.
it's silly, yeah,
Yeah,
it is Kojima vibes, it is what he's
yeah.
all about, and again, like, there may never be context for it, and that's also very Kojima,
I kind of,
like,
you know what? If that's
you
all
may
it is,
walk
if
out of
that's
this
just how if that's just how they introduce this guy and that's it, I'm happy with that.
in the first game, there's pizza deliveries, so I imagine, like, that's what it sets up is, like, you're gonna start delivering pizzas to this guy to, like, people's
Probably. Yeah. Okay.
but, like, that's it, but,
Okay.
like, there's still, like, why did they fight? You'll probably never know, who knows, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just,
It's really
yeah,
good.
and the game
It's so
the
good.
game is filled with that. There's a lot of just humor in this game, and of course, there's a lot of trauma and a lot of heavy stuff too. But like, he's just really locked into a really interesting world here. So interesting that we're getting movies and anime and stuff like that. So I think other people have also witnessed that he has kind of like created this kind of fun playground to be in. And it's just visually amazing. There are
Yeah.
sequences where you go and fight not Solid Snake, like in this other world, and like there's fireworks going off everywhere, and like streamers, and like I just remember like just going whoa, like just like just a
Yeah.
I just reacted in such a visceral way where I just never seen anything like some of the stuff that he puts on display here. A red samurai thing shows up and chops everybody down, and he looks like he's a robot, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and I still don't know what that's about. This is the very beginning of the game, and I am still trying to figure out what that is, but it's just cool, and a lot of things
Yeah.
are that. And if that bothers you, if you need cool with context, like this is not going to be your thing.
Cool with context. This is cool
Yeah,
without
yeah.
context, which is
This
still
is cool
cool.
without context. Maybe we get context later, but like, yeah, visually it's just super cool, and there's just a lot of really cool stuff going on. A lot of really
Yeah.
fun mechanics, like throwing Doll Man, who's like a doll that hangs off your waist, and you get a little what is it? Mimir? Is that from God of War? Is that his name? Mimir?
Mimir, yeah.
Who's the head? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he's on your belt.
you put him where Mimir is, and he goes, "No, don't put me there. I want to ride shotgun, not like that other
Oh my
guy."
gosh.
And I'm like, dude,
Is that what
that's
those two
so
hands were that were like protecting the sun there were these two blue hands that like came up to protect the sun from the
Oh,
girl
I think
character just now in that
yeah, I
trailer.
know that's on, I don't know what those are. Yeah, that's
On
on
Fragile.
Fragiles. Yeah, like, she has, like, these, like, hands that work for her, and I don't know what those are. There's been no context for those
Was
yet,
that in the
but,
first game too? Were those in the first game?
no.
Those
Yeah,
Oh,
no, this
okay.
is just him
Okay.
adding weird stuff, yeah, it's part of her suit, helps her hold her breath, maybe so, like, BTs can't hear her.
Oh,
And
okay.
again, this game is still creepy. Like, suddenly, like, you'll be out in the open and like BTs will be around, and they're still creepy. Like there's these like umbilical cord connected like monsters, dead things that are coming in from the other side, and like they drag you under, they drag you around. It's creepy. It's hard to fight them. It takes a lot of tactical kind of awareness and stuff like that of how to get through these areas. And I just like that stuff. And there is a very like semi nature to the game too, where it's just like I have all these things I need to take to this guy up on the mountain, but to get there, I have to go through Timefall, which destroys your cargo. I have to go through a BT area, and they're just hard to fight sometimes if you're not really equipped right. It's bad terrain, so like it's going to be hard. So I'm just not going to go visit that guy. That guy sucks. But you get the ability once you start making a lot of materials to like start building roads, and those roads kind of help you get to these areas a little quicker, a little easier, a little safer. And it kind of opens up maybe a part of the game that you were resilient to interact with to now being like
Mhm.
part of your major stops and stuff like that. And yeah, I
Yep.
like that. And yeah, this game again is still a delivery game, and he made that very
Yeah.
clear too when people were. I think game journalists got a big chunk of time on it, and they came out going, "This game is a lot different, and it is very actiony now." And like, yes, there is action. It is not very different though. It is the
Hmm.
same kind of formula. It is the same kind of thing. Just you have a little more tools to like kind of handle stuff. So if you do run into
Right.
people, it's not kind of like, oh, I can't kill these people or I'll blow them up. All guns now just knock people out. So it's like you can just go in guns blazing and kill everybody, knock them out or whatever. And the combat feels good. It feels fluid whenever you get seen or whenever anything like that. Like everything slows down so you can kind of get your reticle on them and just blast them away. Everything just kind of feels good. Everything just feels better. So
Yeah.
it's the same flavor. It's just maybe a little more sugar in it. So
Yeah. Well, and
um,
Kojima understands the need for progression. The one thing that is true about his games, he doesn't follow a formula, but he does a good job of, in sometimes very unique ways, of giving the player a sense of advancement. Could be
mhm.
plotline related. A lot of times it's gameplay related, though. Here's a new
Yeah,
ability or a new tool or a way you're getting stronger or a way you're delivering more effectively, or a better way to
Yeah.
carry all the different packages you have to balance, whether it's with vehicles or whatever. So he's always done a good
Yeah.
job with that. So it sounds like that's continuing here. You're still getting a sense that most of us gamers want in these long games, a sense
Hmm.
of growth and
That drip
advancement of
feed of
some
growth.
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's all there. Yeah. I mean, again, what's hard while you're walking around? Suddenly you're on a bike. Suddenly you're on a trike. A motorized trike or whatever, and that grows into a buggy that can get across better terrain. And maybe you're back in an area and the chiral network's been connected, so people have dropped bridges into your world and stuff like that, and it's just easier to get around now. And that's also cool. And that was cool about the first game is like coming back to an area and realize how much of an area has civilized because of the online
mm.
component, and like that's still there. Walking up and down the same path will build a road for you. It'll build like a game trail.
Yeah,
So
that's something I didn't
it's
know about the
flatter and
first game
easier.
and is here too, right? Where
Yeah,
like
yeah.
roads will get worn into the environment if people travel that way
Yeah,
a
so
lot.
it's like, what used to be this rocky kind of uphill climb as you're getting to the musician or whatever, now is it's a dirt road, and other people can see your paths and they'll be like, hey, it looks like this guy had a pretty easy time walking up this path, or hey, I'm witnessing a path here that looks easier. Let me follow that. And other people are wearing down that road too, So it's just like there is a cool. This game is very isolated, but you feel like you're kind of in it together. Hey, I
Yeah,
built this bridge, but I don't have enough materials to finish it. Someone else will finish it for you. So when you come back, it's there, it's built. You drop a watchtower in your game, it shows up in other people's games, so they don't have to build it and they can use it and scout out the area ahead of them and stuff like that. It just kind of feels like this really unique communal thing. Again, this was in the first game. It's just a little more honed and it's just a little more
yeah,
present and everything like that. So
that's pretty
again,
cool.
not a lot of new ideas out. Story, yes, a lot of weird, wacky ideas. I think that's kind of where he put a lot of his thought into. I'm gonna have, Troy Baker and clown makeup playing a guitar that can attack people. Like that's where the new stuff is. I
Yep.
think everything else has just been fine tuned. But I would like to invite people also to realize that like it is a kind of a sensationalized or reductive thing to just call this a walking game or a delivery game. It is that, but you are constantly fighting things, and in the last game, but more so in this game as well. You are fighting giant bosses. Some of them are so hard that they even incorporate a mechanic where you can just skip the boss fights. So these are involved, not as involved as like maybe that's another criticism I could say about Death Stranding 1 and 2. Kojima's known for like these really great Metal Gear Solid boss fights. These are just kind of bullet spongy, big, towering things that are more spectacle than they are like unique mechanically. So you can
Okay.
you can maybe criticize that a little bit. I definitely could. But it's still cool. You're still like fighting this giant tar monster in a tar field, and you're jumping to different plots of land to so you're not sinking in the tar, and you're fighting them with just at the full extent of your arsenal. And you have like people popping in from other games, or their spirits from other games throwing you weapons to help use. You're running out of ammo. Oh,
Oh,
someone
that's
from
cool.
another game is throwing you a new assault rifle and stuff like that. So it's just like, again, there's some cool stuff in there. It's not much more than just kind of like attacking someone's health bar. So
Yeah.
that maybe not as deep as some of his other boss fights, but like again, there's a lot of stuff going on in this, and yeah, how can it be a walking simulator if you're driving most of this game? So it's just like it
Or
is
riding
fun.
some
And
kind of wakeboard, surfboard,
yeah, you
hoverboard
can
he was
now you can
on.
skateboard. You can skateboard on a hoverboard now. Yeah, it used to just be you can just ride it down hills, but now you can like use it like a skateboard and like
Yeah,
kick
it's like
off and stuff
powered.
like that. So
Yeah.
again, like there is more going on in this game. It is a cool headline to go. Kojima just made a game where you walk around. It's a fun, cool, edgy headline. But
Yeah.
ultimately, there is a lot more going on in both of these games.
Yeah, I think if that's all you're
But
doing, it wouldn't be averaging 90s on critic reviews across
yeah,
the board.
but yeah,
Just
again,
saying.
there's a lot of room to also understand that maybe this is just not the pacing for some people too. It is a weird paced game.
True.
It's very uniquely, maybe off-putting to people, which I totally understand. I just, I'm shocked that it's getting the reviews that it is, because it really ultimately is just kind of again like a just making what was already there just a little better. Maybe that was enough for
Yeah.
people. But I just don't know if it's gonna get new fans. I don't know if the sales growths are gonna be exponential or anything like that
Well,
compared to
yeah,
the
being
first
stuck
one.
on only PS5 doesn't help. Now, PS5 has a big player
Sure.
base, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I think PC is a place where the first game, I'm not saying that it wasn't a success before, but that's where to me it was like a confirmed
No,
like a lot of
you're
people love
absolutely
this now.
correct. You're absolutely
Yeah,
correct. It had a huge burst on PC, and a lot of people got to
yeah,
play it there. And like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it doubled like its player base, you know. So
I think it
it
did.
is,
Yeah,
you know, and I don't know what the Xbox numbers are, you know, I don't know, but like it did well moving to other platforms. So, and this will do well
yeah,
too. This will get a secondary life, you know, once it moves to PC. But
yeah.
yeah, this game is incredible. I'm really enjoying it. There are so many times where you're just like walking onto your ship and like your characters are like singing and hanging out and doing stuff, and it's just weird. And you know, it's what I'm
But
here
look at,
for.
I
I
mean,
signed up
the
for it, you
environments
know.
we saw in the trailer are look incredible. Like the visuals
Yeah.
look stunning.
Some of
It
it's
it might be one of the
some of it looks
prettiest looking games.
photorealistic. Yeah,
Yeah.
some of it looks photorealistic to me. And now they've added like natural environment destructions too. So it's like you're walking and like maybe a earthquake just starts going off, and maybe it makes a giant crack in the ground that wasn't there. Maybe it topples a mountain. You know, maybe it,
Dang.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe a flood starts, and all these plains that used to just be dry plains are now just like huge bodies of water because of these flash floodings and stuff like that. Maybe a fire kicks off and like wildfires are going everywhere, and like now your direct path to get to somewhere is completely cut off by a wall of fire, you know. And these are all at first scripted events, you know, to introduce them, that then become kind of like random events and
Kind of
everything like
randomized.
that.
Yeah.
So you know, there's just a little more going on in this game you know, you have to kind of like pay attention to, and yeah, and he offers just as many tools to like circumvent a lot of these stuff as well. And you were talking about that like
Yeah.
drip feed of like progression, like maybe those
Yeah.
boots, maybe they're level 3 now, you know, and now like
Mhm.
they have much more durability and they do this. And maybe you just unlock combat boots and they're just better at kicking people, you know. Maybe you unlock the boots that are good for walking through water, and now you're not slipping every time you're in water, you know. So it's just
Yeah.
like these don't sound fun, you know, like, oh, I just got new boots, but I'm telling you, they, if the mechanic is walking, these change everything about the way that you're interacting with the game. You know, now you're not slipping as much, you're not doing as much. I can put on an exoskeleton, helps me like stabilize myself. You know, it's just there's just a lot to unlock. And a lot of it's optional. You don't have to like dig your teeth in and like do a lot of the side stuff if you don't want to. The game is very approachable to like go through. It gives you all the things you need to get through the game without needing to like
Mm.
dig in. I'm digging
Yeah.
in, Tim. I'm making roads. You know, I'm digging in hard, man. I'm
Yeah, dude.
wandering through BT infested areas to get like stuff for people, you know, that I don't need to be doing. But yeah, it's just it's very fun, and it's just more of what I loved about the first game.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like, you could be anywhere from a fourth to a halfway through the game, just depending on
Yeah,
how much of the extra stuff you're doing. Because it
there might
sounds
be
like
a
people
lot
are
of.
they're right around 40 hours for, like, right so far on finishing
Mhm.
it, and that's across, like, all different play styles. Some people are flying through it at just under 30, some people are taking, like, 70 to 80. Probably just
Yeah.
depends on how much you take your time.
Well, and
So,
I there is kind of a driving factor where it's like when I get to like a big story moment, like I do just kind of want to go to the next thing. Like I don't want to dig in here. Like I've been going back and digging in a lot, but like there's a lot of times where I'm just like, no, I have to see what the next cutscene is. Like no,
yeah.
I have to see what the next thing is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that a lot. And maybe it's not as much forward facing story here at the beginning. The first game was like this too, where it's a lot of like setup, a lot of world building. And then it's really story heavy at the back end. This is really character heavy in this game. You're meeting a lot of characters. The main character, Norman Reedus, is not. Sam Porter Bridges is not. He's not a lone wolf anymore. Like he learned through in the first game, you know, that like after this big, you know, incident that we need each other, and you have to like let people into your life and stuff like that. And like this game reflects that character growth. So there's a lot of people around him this time. You're interacting with a lot of people, and those
Nice.
people have to be set up and they have to be given, you know, depth and stuff like that. And that's kind of what the game has been about mostly so far, with some cool, you know, like mysterious stuff going on, and of course, you know, the main bad guy Hig showing back up. You like, why is he here? He's dead, you know. Like, so it's like there's enough there that's driving you through. But again, it's just the spectacle and the creativity of the cutscenes, and like even
Yeah.
simple stuff like you'll see it in the cutscene where Solid Snake and his crew are like standing up. Like as they're standing up, like all these like candles ignite as they stand up, and it's just cinematic. I don't know what to I mean, again, describing it is not doing any justice. You just kind of have to see it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, candles are lighting while people are standing up, dumb, you know. But like no, when you watch it, you're like, oh, how did anyone like conceptualize this and perceive it and then like code it and put it on here? it's just really special. It's watching a Kojima thing is always special. So
That's awesome. Dude, I'm loving that you're loving it. I think the reviews on it alone should intrigue folks like me who like a lot of different Kojima games. And maybe it's that time. Maybe it's my backlog summer experience. I've been doing this last few years. Every summer I'll finally revisit a game I've been putting off.
yeah,
Maybe it's time to go farther than my, I don't know, 2 hours I spent on the first Death Stranding, something like that.
which was what,
Enough
like
enough to
ninety
appreciate the
percent
visuals,
cutscenes.
but
Yeah,
it was a lot of cutscenes. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
The first few times you're able to walk around really didn't
yeah.
get too much into the delivering mechanics and the walking mechanics. Like a little bit, the
They
first couple
drip
hours of
feed.
the
They
game, there's a little
really
bit of
drip
that,
feed in
but
that game. Yeah, they're like, here's a
yeah,
dead body. Go incinerate it. You're like, okay,
yeah, it's
all
exactly,
right,
exactly. It's like real straightforward, simple stuff.
yeah.
But hey, I love sim games. Maybe I should just treat it like that. Treat it like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
high
I
quality
don't.
sim
I'd
game.
be. I don't want to call it a full blown sim, but there's a lot of simmy stuff in this game. Even the
I don't mind
stuff where you're
chores.
like,
I should be okay with
yeah,
this.
you like
I
you
should
like
be
some
okay with it.
chores, yeah. And there
Heck yeah.
is a kind of a nice kind of thing where being like, I don't know, where do I put this package? I don't want it to get hit by
Yeah.
timefall, so maybe I put it on the bottom so like the rain doesn't hit it outright, Or if you don't want to do any of that, you could just hit auto, and like you could go through the whole game hitting auto. I do it all the time. But like every
Yeah.
once in a while, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, that stuff is all there, and like it is kind of a it is kind of nice if you do like those kind of chory things where again we're like, well, I got to ferry some materials over here so I can build a road. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that for the next couple hours. I'm in the middle of that right now, and I'm gonna get right off of this and go back to it for probably another couple hours, and not progress at
Yeah.
all in this game. I'm just making roads.
As you should. Well, listen, I'm excited about this one. I'm also not shocked at all, but it's interesting to see all these super world famous directors, whether it's George Miller or the guy who
Yeah,
directed Drive. What's his name? Nicholas
Nicholas Winding
Winding.
Refn. Yeah,
Yeah,
Die
he's
Hard.
in it as a character. Of course,
Yeah,
Guillermo
Heartman.
Del Toro
Yeah,
makes a return. Um, not Guillermo. Is it
Elle
Guillermo?
Fanning. Yeah,
Is it
Guillermo
Guillermo
del
del
Toro. That's
Toro?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Okay,
right.
okay. Dude, he just has these like insane filmmakers that are like, yeah, I'll be in your video game. I'll be
Yeah, you
motion
can
captured.
scan me and my feet, and you can put me in this game. Sure, yeah.
What?
The
Yeah, it's
Quentin
crazy.
Tarantino of video gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, but I love it. I'm glad to see that it's doing so well, especially in terms of reviews. Remains to be seen on sales, although you would imagine with the excitement around it and the anticipation of it, and the
hmm
built, as we mentioned, kind of the built success of the first game. Hopefully, the second one,
So
sees that
this
same
is a game
success.
that was built in mind with like not needing 10 million sales to like reap a profit. I was looking into it, and apparently the team size for this is literally a fraction of that of Assassin's Creed, the new one, the Samurai one, a
Dang.
fraction. So it's like he got all this out with a really tight knit team. That's really small. He doesn't have to pay a bunch of people, like so. It's like I think they were happy with the like I was only like 3 million on PS4 or whatever. I don't think it was that much. Like you don't think about like 3 million being a lot unless it's
Hmm.
like something like Claire Obscure, like a smaller game. And you're like, hey, that little guy
Right.
did it.
Yeah, it's
They were
true.
happy with the sales of the original game. It did break a profit before even going on PC, and it's just because. I guess Kojima, who used to be a very over, he would go over budget all the time, has now become much more economical in his game making. So,
Yeah,
good for
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, we're gonna move on. Thank you guys for indulging us for our Kojima time. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
more to
sorry
come because
everybody.
Kyle's gonna play more Death Stranding too. I know at some point Daniel's gonna rejoin us. He will probably have played it at least at some point throughout 2025. I know he's gonna play Death Stranding too, so I'm excited to hear his thoughts as well. So it's not the last you've heard about this game. I wanted to highlight, as we do sometimes, a few other small new games that are out. There's not very many. There's only like 5 or something, but figured it was worth highlighting these. One is called Outrider Mako or Mako,
Mm,
and it's just got this weird, interesting art style, this isometric action look. As you can see, you're darting around.
yeah,
Yeah, it kind of has a
this looks
cool
cool.
look to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's they're calling it a, let's see, 2D top-down 2D action game. So there you go.
cool.
And you are delivering stuff, so it's
Crafting.
Death Stranding centric.
Oh,
You're
it's Death
delivering
Stranding. So
things.
Kojima made this
Yeah,
game. Okay, it
totally,
continues.
totally.
Everyone, psych! Everybody, psych.
Yeah, so this one looks charming. It's called Outrider. I'm assuming it's pronounced Mako, and it's available now on
I don't know. Ask the
Steam and I
Final
think
Fantasy VII
a few other
fans.
places.
They know how to say that word.
Is it Mako? Is that correct?
I don't know. It was, and then it was suddenly Mako. So, or
Mako?
maybe or opposite. I don't know. Yeah,
Macau. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Macau.
All right. There's a System Shock 2, the remaster, and I thought it was cool. I like the way that Game Intros and Finales channel did this. This is their video, and they show the original and then the remaster kind of side by side for this, just so you can see the difference. Yeah, the nice swipes they have, and a little bit of side by side. You know, it's just the clarity is really great. People love this game. This is like another cult classic. A lot of people
Yeah.
that have played it, of course, love it. It's just I don't think it was a huge commercial success. So most people, probably like you and me, haven't played this, but we know that it's
No,
great.
but I heard about it my whole life from my like
Yeah.
super hardcore gamer friends who are very much into stuff like this. And this is like proto BioShock, right? Like BioShock is kind of like a spiritual successor to like this.
Yep, because we had the System Shock 1 remake or remaster last year or a year and a half ago, something like that. And then yeah, now we have this one. It's the 25th anniversary of System Shock 2. And so this is out now. You can give that a look if that sounds appealing to you. Very clearly like incredible visual upgrade, but it looks like the same core game, you know, which is cool. Like even the way they're turning around, like it's all very much the same. They've just made it look really, really good.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's funny, the one on the right I'm seeing here, this is how I remember games looking on like
Same
N64 and PS2 and stuff like that.
If games ever looked like the one on the left, I would have never played them. But they did.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's
what?
They look like.
They all did. They all looked like that, Kyle. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we also have, and I don't really know what this is. Persona 5 The Phantom X. I don't really know what this is.
Mobile game.
Okay, this is not I thought it was on PC too. Is it not on
It could
Steam?
be. A lot of mobile games are making their way over to PC these days, but yeah, I'm pretty sure
Okay, so this is just kind of like a smaller version of Persona 5 then? Like a side story or something?
Maybe, yeah.
Because it looks like you're really running
the
around
graphics
doing
are great.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you're running around doing stuff.
It's definitely
oh yeah,
PC
this
controls
this had computer controls right here. Yeah.
Yep, right down there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely somewhere on PC as well. But anyway, Phantom X is out now. And last but not least, another remake. We've got Front Mission 3 remake that hit the Switch. I know these have not been super well received, these remakes that have come out, the Front Mission remakes. But if you're interested, if you like tactical games, if you like mechs, Front Mission's your game. So go give that a look. I remember liking the first one when I played it on PS1 a long time ago.
Same.
But I never really played much more.
I played whatever one was on PS2. That's when I played. I'm like, this is cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe just the remaster.
And this, to me, I see this and I think this looks cool. Like if I'm in the mood for a turn-based tactical game, like this looks cool. But yeah, who knows? But that is out now on the Switch, if that tickles your fancy. All right, Kyle, I know you pulled together a whole bunch of headlines for us. So I'm curious if you want to highlight a few of those. I'll wrap up with some sales that we're seeing on. We've got a couple of major sales happening that are worth highlighting those, and then we'll wrap up with anything else we're playing. So why don't you, thank you for keeping track of news this week. What are some of the things that have been happening?
Well, we can get all the bummer stuff out of the way. A lot of studio layoffs and stuff like that. Some no dust, some kind of surprising. Mind's Eye, everyone's favorite 2025 game, laid off a third of its staff, and their CEO forwent his salary. So,
wow.
They're I'm sorry, Splitgate's the one who forego his salary, excuse me. But yeah, Mind's Eye laid off a third of its staff. And apparently they're still updating that game. He kept his salary, of course he did. Yeah. The ex-Rockstar guy is not gonna get paid, you know?
Yeah, he's gonna get his money. Yeah.
But the guy who did forego his salary was the guy, the Splitgate 2 dev, and half of that staff sadly had to get laid off as well.
Jeez.
I don't know what ended up happening with that game. I think there was a lot of momentum with that game, and I don't think it was just like the controversy of him being at Game Summerfest and him just being present and kind of like a full of himself type of character. I just don't know if that's enough to sink a game. So there might be other stuff going on with that game, but there was a lot of momentum behind it. So it was kind of surprising to see that it kind of like fizzled immediately.
Yeah.
Chinese Room confirmed studio layoffs, which is a bummer. They make some pretty good games. You think a lot of maybe these indie or smaller studios might be kind of safe from this stuff, but no one is safe from the layoff hammer.
What's a Chinese Room make? That rings a bell. What did they
make? What did they make? I know it's something I like.
I'm looking it up too.
Dear Esther, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture are their big ones.
Yeah,
Little Orpheus, Amnesia, Machine for Pigs. That was a really loved one. So yeah, they make some pretty good games. I forget, are they doing the new um are they doing the new Vampire the Masquerade? Vampire the
Good
Masquerade
question.
Bloodlines 2 Death. I know somebody
Yeah, it
is. It
says
might be a
Vampire the
different.
Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is supposed to come out this year from them. They did
Yeah,
Still
so
Wakes the
that's the
Deep.
Chinese room. Yeah, so that's that leads into another one whereas Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is still on track to come out in October despite publisher company layoffs. So this is outside of the Chinese room,
Yeah.
who's the dev studio getting layoffs. The publisher is also laying off. So, but that game is still apparently on its way out, and I don't believe it because that game is perpetually delayed. So,
Yeah.
looks cool. Very excited for it. Just
If you
it
would have asked me about that
doesn't
one
bode
today
well.
without any context, I probably would have like, no, I think that released like 2 years ago and people were
Yeah,
mentioning it. Like in my
yeah,
mind,
right.
it's already out. You know what I mean?
Isn't that the hero shooter or whatever? Remember they came out
Yeah,
with
isn't
one of
that
those
out
a couple years
already?
ago?
And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And then finally, to end our bummer corner, Microsoft layoffs are on their way despite a very very profitable quarter. So
Yeah, I think that's specific to Xbox department too, like their
it
division.
is, yeah, yeah, the
Um,
Xbox division of Microsoft. So that is a
Dang.
big big bummer.
Yeah, I do. It makes you wonder about those kind of things. Like, is that literally just that's the way it goes in big corporations, and that's just the natural part of
It may be
the dumb way they're
redundancies.
run?
Yeah, it might
Yeah,
be.
redundancies. Yeah,
My
yeah.
company is going through redundancy layoffs right now, so I mean, I know that's pretty
Yeah.
common, but like, it's
And
just I don't
sometimes,
know.
and as cold-hearted as this sounds, sometimes companies literally do invest X number of dollars for X number of months or years, and when that time's up, that funding gets pulled,
Yep.
regardless of success or failure, and that's just the way it
hmm
goes. And like, there's all kinds of things, like
It's a
different
very contractor
investments,
heavy
and
industry, so
yes, yeah,
everything is contracts and contractors and temporary employees. A lot of it is, and you'd think you haven't heard a lot of like the industry struggling news this year, and I'm not talking about just like I'm not talking about just like firings, but like a lot of high selling games. It kind of
right.
feels like the industry is doing kind of well right now. A lot of games are selling very well, but yeah, still layoffs. Those are still
Still
happening. So
layoffs. Yeah,
bummer. In
yeah.
better news though, there is word in the grapevine that Metaphor ReFantazio is coming to Switch 2. So Switch 2 is not laying off on its third party, kind of support and stuff like that, despite
That'd be
reports of kind of
that would
bad
make
sales
sense to me,
numbers.
right? Because there's been some
Yeah,
Persona elements on
Persona
Switch too, so Atlas has
Persona
been there.
5 was on a lot.
The
All I
Raidu
think
game
every
that just came
three,
out.
four, 4, and 5 are all on the Switch, and they all sell very well.
Okay.
So these
Yep.
games, people want to grind on the go, which totally makes
And
sense.
Atlas just
So
put out the Raidu game on the
that's
Switch
right.
too. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that sold pretty
Very
well.
fun game. I'm hoping so. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm hoping it sold
Yep.
well. So yeah, that'd be cool if that game came out. Great
Yeah.
game. Great, 2004, great game. So
That'd be a great
hopefully that
get for
comes around.
Nintendo, but also I think it would move a lot more copies to have that sitting on the eShop for a couple weeks in that top
Yeah.
spot. Yeah.
The rumor that won't die, it's not a rumor, I guess it's been confirmed. Cyberpunk 2.3 update. It's rumored to be the size of a full game, but CD Projekt Red has
What?
only said that 2.3 is, yeah, apparently when people like were data mining, like it seems like you're either re-downloading the game because so much changes, or this update is just the size of the game. I'm obviously thinking it's the former. I don't think this game is suddenly going to be 200
That's where
gigs
I would
long,
go
you
to.
know?
Yeah. Dang.
But yeah, apparently it's a big enough update that requires a huge, huge, huge file size, and like and we don't know anything about it. We don't know if it's DLC. We don't know if it's new mechanics. Like we have no idea.
Yeah.
But they have confirmed that 2.3 is real and it's a big deal, and that it will be out whenever it's ready. But it was supposed to be out
Dang.
last Friday on the 26th.
All
So
right.
we, I guess
Hey,
that's not happening
2.0 was an
anymore.
impressive reboot. That's when I went back and actually played that game start
Yeah.
to finish and
Oh yeah.
loved it. So, yeah.
If it's as big, and that's what they say, like it's we want it to be as big as 2.0 in terms of this update, and I'm like, that's
Mm.
insane. But yeah, I'm hoping we see that soon. I'm mad that I'm just pretty much wrapping up this game for the upteenth time, and like they're like, guess what? We have a big update. And I'm like, suck, you guys suck. Like, I just went
So
through
are you
this game,
playing it through on the Switch right now, Kyle?
I
You're doing a
am.
full
I'm almost at the
playthrough on the
very end.
Switch.
Yeah, I'm almost at the
Yeah.
very end.
Overall,
I'm
just
at
real
the
quick sidebar on that. Like, how's it? Like, I know there's reports of the occasional struggle, but for the most part, running smoothly. Is that your experience?
yeah. I think it's probably I've had less crashes on it and less glitches. I think it is the most optimized version of the game. Now let me rephrase what I'm saying here. I think it's the
For
most
its
optimized in
hardware.
terms of how it's running for its hardware. Yes,
Yeah.
I think that the sacrifices come in the forms of like there's just not a lot of people on the streets. There's just not a lot of cars on the road, so it doesn't feel like an
Yeah.
alive city. But like it
Yep.
is in striking distance of what the game is supposed to look like. It is running in a Xbox Series S type capacity.
Yep.
So it is running better than last gen, but it is not running as good as current gen. But it is still a
Makes
very,
sense.
very good looking game. And the only thing that's compromised is just like the amount of people out on the roads and stuff like that, which is fine. I don't care about that stuff. I've played this game so many times, I'm just trying to get the
Yeah.
story in. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a bad way to play it. If you have a PS5, you have a high end PC, play it there though.
True.
Only get this if you want to play it while you're sitting, pooping or whatever. I don't know, on the
Yeah.
go. I don't know.
Well, cyberpunk and cyber pooping.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Your next 60 hours of pooping is spoken for, guys. You can play Cyberpunk. Yeah. Just a little hands-on stuff. Borderlands 4 had a big hands-on event, brought a lot of people,
Mhm.
internet types and journalists and all sorts of people to get like 4 hours with the game. I mean, I haven't seen a single person walk away with something negative to say. It is alarming how good the buzz is on this game, especially because there's more news today of Randy Pitchford like putting his foot in his mouth more. It's like I just can't shut up. It's just so crazy to
Dude,
me.
someone needs
I
to
think
tell him to stop talking.
basically said he's like, you want to buy the game when it comes out because we're not going to put this game in a deep sell like we did Borderlands 3. I'm like, you don't need to say that, but that's
Oh
like
my gosh.
you could just take a beat, buddy. You're okay. You're gonna be all right, Randy. No one
Yeah.
needs to hear you every day.
For real.
But despite that, the buzz is very, very, very good on this game. A lot of people that I follow have gotten hands-on time. People talking about how great the game feels, how much
Mm.
more locomotion there is in terms of like getting around and stuff like that. There is talks about the end game being incredible, which kind of I think three kind of that was like the problem with that game is like the end game wasn't really present.
Yeah.
And just more character skills than ever before. So like your lean into builds are just bigger and more important. They
That's
announced that
very
there's going to
nice.
be more Vault Hunters post launch. So three didn't have that either. So basically everything three didn't do, they're doing with this game.
Yeah.
It sounds like they have their finger on the Brandy Pitchford aside. It sounds like they have their finger on the pulse of like what people wanted out of Borderlands 4. And I'm excited, man. I'm not like I love Borderlands 4, but like I know people who are way bigger fans of this franchise than I am, and who like really beat the drum for it. I just like it, I think it's a great time, and I was really excited for this game. I'm like at pretty high hype levels for this game now, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I hope
I've heard
Borderlands is
that
very
people
good.
are, yeah, I've heard the positive responses too, as well as like almost a reboot or like a refresh of not necessarily
Tone.
the formula, but it's kind of like, hey, this is gonna feel like they're kind of starting fresh. I don't know if it's a prequel necessarily, but I think
They
the
changed
whole
the tone,
storyline starting
so
fresh.
like I think they threw out fart jokes and they kind of like embraced a different tone now. I think they're still going to be comedy. I think it's still going to be funny, but I think that they are trying to grow up a little bit, which it needs to
Yeah,
do.
it
Two and
does.
three got two and three got away for about 10 years on like fart jokes and immature crap, and I think it's
Yeah.
time to I'm 40 now. I don't need that stuff in my life. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
Borderlands
fair
4,
enough.
really exciting. Dune
Yep.
Awakening got a really big update that did just come through that overhauls the entire end game. It is now more PvE friendly. So if you're like me and you don't want to spend your entire life gearing up to play PvP, you can now
Yeah.
interact with the end game in what they call the deep desert without needing to turn this game into your entire life. So that's pretty
Nice.
cool.
That is cool.
I probably you're kind of similar, right? Like I don't know how much PvP stuff like you would want to do in like an
None if I can
MMO.
help it.
Same, yeah. I remember that being big in WoW. Everyone's like, you PvP spec? No, I've never done it, and I never will.
No.
Or I
No.
played it once, and I was like, hate this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad. I like my MMOs just kind of being questy, and just let me do that, please. Thank you.
Same.
I also
Yeah.
will say that I just learned that if you are not playing the game, your resources are dwindling while not playing it. So I just made the joke that this game wants to be your only game. It does. It does want to be your only game. You do have to get on and find fuel and put fuel in your generators because that fuel is being used while you're not online. And I got online and my whole base was destroyed and I lost like all of my stuff and I just was on for like
Oh,
3 or 4 days. So
that's
I'm
because you were
like,
playing Death Stranding too.
I was, yeah, thanks, Death Stranding, which that happens to Death Stranding as well. Things get destroyed. And
Ugh,
I
that's
can only play one of
brutal.
these
Like,
games at once.
uh, that's brutal.
I don't love it. I don't love that part of it. Like, there should be a way where, like, I can,
I
like, turn off
understand
the
the draw
generators
for
while I'm
some
up.
people to make it like realistic like that and whatever, but
Yeah, so do I.
I don't love
I don't
that.
like any game who's trying to be my only game. I don't like that. Like it just I'm a
Yeah.
very mini games man. I like to juggle some things. I don't like to overwhelm myself too much. Maybe I'm only playing a
Yeah.
couple games at once, but like I don't like to be like locked into something.
Yeah.
I like to have the freedom to walk to something else.
I get a little annoyed at the phrase they don't respect gamers' time. This is a good example of that, where they're not really
Yeah,
respecting your time. That like you can't be online all the time. You know,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It's fine.
I can't. Yeah, and I don't
I
want to
guess
get on
I
and
guess
just
in a way
keep
that's their
doing
way
it.
of not letting people just log in, set up a thing, and then never come back, and it's just occupied
It's true, you
forever
are
and ever.
occupying space in that game, so there is like maybe that is a way to kind of clear out the
Maybe it needs to be a little less
servers.
punishing, like give you a little more time or something. I don't know.
Right.
I don't
So
know.
I'm about to move in with my buddy, and who plays every day, and I'm gonna abandon the remnants of my
Or
base
maybe
and
they should
just
let you
like
set up an Airbnb. You know, other players can rent your space for a little
you
while,
can.
and
That's kind of how the game's set up. Is that like you need to guild up and like you all build one
yeah,
giant super compound, and like it's just kind of always running. You can get on. You kind of have a room in the compound. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Someone
So
puts the Wi-Fi password up on the wall in the kitchen, you
yep,
know, so everyone can
yep.
see. I
My
love it.
buddy definitely is aware. He's like, so you just want to ride on my coattails? I go, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I want to do.
you call it whatever you want to, pal.
Yeah, whatever makes you feel better about it, but yes, that's
Yeah,
what I'm doing. You will be
that's
playing the
exactly what I'm
game
doing.
for me, and I will pop in and do quests every once in a while. I guess the big news this week, and wow, I wish Dan were here to talk about this one because this is kind of in direct response to stuff he was talking about a few weeks ago with Claire Obscure. But Square Enix calls Claire Obscure's success an inspiration for the next Final Fantasy. Next game could
Good,
very well be turn based. So
good,
this big 20 million unit selling company who needs to sell multiple dozens of copies looks at this 3 million selling unit and goes, "We're inspired by this," and I
good,
like that.
good,
I think that
good.
they need to be thinking this way.
Can I just say
Again,
something about Final
mhm,
Fantasy? I know that I was the only really negative one on some of the combat from 7 Rebirth last year, and I get it. It's gonna work for some people. It's gonna work for most
sure,
people, it turns out. And I'm just one of those people who was like, "Eh, I don't love it. It's fine. I just don't love it." Same with 16. That was the one drawback for me was
hmm
that fast action almost character action style mixed
hmm
with RPG. I know some people love that, and I don't want to like be a wet blanket. It just wasn't my favorite. I much prefer
sure,
either a strong strategy, turn-based, deep RPG, or let me. I don't know. There's something about it. There's something about the action that didn't quite click for me. That being said, I don't necessarily want, and I don't think they will go back to full just turn-based. But I like the idea of them scaling back a little bit and rethinking, like, hey, do we need to go back to the drawing board on some of this? Have we gone too
yeah.
far away from what made Final Fantasy Final Fantasy? So the fact that they're even saying this means they're asking the right questions. It
I
gives me
think you're asking
hope.
our questions. Yeah, I will say
Yeah.
that even weirder, it was the shareholders who were kind of having this conversation. So not even like the creative types. Like it was like the people who don't really understand games are
The
like, maybe
suits.
we need to go back to our roots. And like the devs, I hope
Yeah.
were like, yes, yeah, absolutely. You haven't
Yeah.
been letting us do that. So I'm hoping that's the
Yeah.
case.
Some of the gameplay from 16 and the 7 rebirth, some of that to me, it reminded me of back in the day when Square would do Final Fantasy spin-off games, and it's like, here's so
mhm,
and so's
yeah,
adventure, and here's your action Final Fantasy game. I remember thinking, oh, those are cool that they make those, as long as the main ones stay the main ones. But
yeah.
they've pivoted all of it to that. So it'll be
Right.
interesting to
Yeah,
see what
I hear
happens
you.
with the
I
next.
definitely like the last two more than you. I probably think you and I agree more on Seven Remake than maybe you think because I maybe haven't been as vocal about that. I think that game doesn't really know what it wants to be combat wise. To be
Yeah,
honest,
I gotta tell
I
you, there are
like it.
times in 7 Rebirth and Remake that I just got like almost chills with how cool it felt and looked.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
absolutely epic. And there are other times when I'm like going through the
sure.
motions on fight after fight that I was like, this combat system doesn't lend itself to a 80-hour RPG. Like there's something about it
Yeah,
that just didn't it wore me down. I felt I was just tired of the game by the time I finished it. And
I
I
hear
don't know
you.
a good
I
way
hear
of
you.
how to express that. That being said, and I loved 16 to the stories and the characters and the
Yeah.
visuals, top notch across the board. It was the combat on both those games that by the end, you know how we talk about going to clean up all the side stuff before wrapping up a game?
hmm
Those were two examples of games that I didn't want to clean up much of the side stuff. Like I was kind of done with them. They just kind
I
of wore
didn't
me
in
out.
remake. I did in 16, but I think I was
Mhm.
doing a lot of the stuff kind of like along, so there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot for me to like wrap up. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to just put 7 up, which it comes off like I did not. I think that game is fantastic, but like
Dude, calling
I
it a
I
9
think
out of 10, and it's like the only reason
yeah.
that I didn't give it a 10. You know what I mean? It was just I got worn
Yeah,
out by the
yeah,
end.
right. But
I was
I
kinda
do
done with
think
it.
that remake just didn't really know like oh you can slow down time and choose your move and like I don't know it's just it's doing a lot and I think for 16 for me where I can totally see what you're saying where it just got kind of grating after like 60 hours you're kind of doing the same stuff or whatever. At least it was
Yeah.
one thing. It had an identity,
True. You're right.
and
I prefer
that
16 over
I could
Rebirth,
I
to be
could
honest with
I
you, in
connected to
terms of
that
gameplay.
more that combat
Yep.
style But
Yep.
I'm also a big character action guy as well, and I think that like 7 just wasn't
Yeah.
enough of a character action game, and it wasn't enough of a tactical game, and it just like it was kind of a middle ground of both, and it's just like I don't know, it just didn't, it didn't.
Which, by the way, for some people, that's all they want, and like to them, it's 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Amazing, totally get it.
yeah,
It's the same thing when I play a game that's super in depth, and I want to do. We just talked about sim games last week. When I want to do all the detailed, like boring things, and
hmm
someone's like, well, "How could you possibly like that?" I totally get it. Valid question.
yeah,
And
same. And
so,
like I was saying with Death Stranding as well, where I'm just like I understand when people just kind of bring up, it's like I don't know if that paces for me, and I'm like I like that you worded it that way because that's probably what it is that it is a pacing thing for a lot of these things that we're talking about. Like it is not just the speed that I want to be at whenever I'm playing this type of game. And like that's I think it's a very good, that's a very good, that's okay, like that's okay that
yep.
it doesn't reach everybody. And I think that's an okay thing to express as well. So,
Yeah, I'm
it is what
excited
it
to
is.
hear them acknowledge the recent success of a game that honestly on its surface kind of looks like it could be a modern Final Fantasy game,
Yeah, it's
so I
definitely, I
I
mean,
like
you
that.
could tell all people grew up playing Final Fantasy games. Like everybody
Yeah.
at the Clear, dev team. Like they
Yeah,
had to have.
and maybe even a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3 influence as well when you get to some of the character building
Mhm.
conversations and stuff, or maybe even Fire Emblem, I don't know, it's got all those pieces, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. Now, Kyle, I did not watch the Capcom showcase. Did you watch it?
I did, yeah. Capcom is on a tear right now in terms of making games. They have never been good at making showcases ever.
Still not
And this
good?
is, yeah, I don't know. There wasn't much here. They talked about a new Monster Hunter Wilds update that's free, a lot of new monsters, some new content. Yeah, that's great and everything like
Nice.
that. Could have been an email. The big, the big, the big thing that they were pimping out was like RE9 footage, guys. It's gonna be big. We're gonna blow the doors off this thing. I don't think I know
Yeah.
anything new about this game at
No, okay,
all.
fair
You
enough.
did see some
Yeah.
new footage. I did. They did have some cool insight about how they wanted the game to be a Leon game, but they were like, well, we wanted to lean into horror though, and like you just can't scare Leon. Like he's a vet. You know what I mean? Like he's been through it.
Right.
Like there's not going to be moments where he's like afraid of a bucket dropping, and like that sound, like he's not going to jump from that. Whereas like a new character would, like she's in a
Right.
stressful situation and any noise is going to freak her out. And I think that when you lean into horror, you can't like choose a superhero to be your main character. And I like that insight.
Dude,
That insight was
that's
nice.
why Luigi works in the Luigi's Mansion. It couldn't be Mario because he's too brave. Luigi's
He's
a
too
scaredy
brave,
cat, but
right? Yeah, Luigi's
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
big pansy. Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely right.
That's why it
So
works.
there were a couple other games shown up, but those were like the two kind of big focuses. And the RE9 footage looked good. They kind of showed the perspective
They
of
showed a
third
little more of
and first
Pragmata
person.
too, right? Their new game for
It
next
did show
year.
more Pragmata. I think I'm liking that game less and less the more I see of it. Sadly, it just looks
Yeah,
slow and weird.
I'm curious to see
Um,
how it actually feels because I'm with you. And
Me
I did
too.
see clips of the gameplay, and I was like, oh, I don't know, but it
Yeah, I
depends on how it
don't know,
feels.
but I was really excited for that game until I saw more of it. So that's
That's not a good thing.
it's not a good thing. And like again, maybe it's just like feelings believing. Like I think if I watched someone play Death Stranding, I'd be like, no, I don't want
Yeah,
to play
yeah,
this
yeah.
game. Yeah, so like maybe it just looked weighty in a way that I usually don't like my action games. And like I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. So
Yeah,
but it is cool
yeah.
that they are leaning all the way into that game. It's a new Capcom IP. I think they should be celebrating that. I think they should be putting a lot of time into it. I think they should be getting people to care, and I hope people do care. So,
What's crazy too is they've got and I don't know if this was at the Capcom thing, but I saw this headline: the cast for the live action Street Fighters coming together,
mhm.
and it's pretty crazy. You got Andrew Koji from Warriors and
Yes,
from
yeah, he's the
he was in
best.
Bullet Train too, I
Bullet
think.
Train,
He's
yeah,
Ryu or Ryu.
yeah.
I don't know who Kalina Liang is, but she'll play Chun Li. We've
Mhm.
got Jason Momoa, or not Jason Momoa. He's in it too, but Roman Reigns is playing Akuma.
Okay,
So,
all right.
yeah,
Can he act? Never mind, I don't care.
yeah, he can hold up the number one because he's the tribal chief or whatever it is that he does, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
God.
I don't know who Orville Peck is. He's a country singer. He's playing Vega in the movie.
Okay,
Vega.
interesting.
We
Vega's
got
like
Jason
French, isn't he?
Momoa just announced as Blanca, which was a big
All
one to
right,
me.
sure, yeah. Put him in some green paint, I guess. All right.
Why not? We got Noah Centineo as Ken. I think he's been in some stuff. I just can't picture who Noah Centineo
Mhm.
is. And then 50 Cent is going to play Balrog.
We're back, guys. We're back, baby. 50 Cent's in stuff again. 50 Cent Blood in the Sand 2 is announced. It's not, but maybe it will be. What is this
That's on your wish
cast?
list.
Yeah, what is this cast? It's wacky. I'm kind of here
It
for it
feels
though.
like someone asked ChatGPT who to cast and then they did it. You know what I
It
mean?
does. It absolutely feels like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is like big enough stunt casting where I'm like, you have my interest, but not my
I
money.
know. Yeah,
Like,
you don't have my money yet, but I'll keep an eye on it because it sounds funny.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, nothing's gonna beat Raul Julia as M Bison.
Yeah, with one of the greatest lines in cinema history that did not deserve to be in that movie. So,
He's he's an actor that died, of course, well before his time. He was
yeah,
so good in everything I saw him in. He was
he's so
great.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. The perfect cast for Adam's Family too, by the way. Like the only one who could have been in Adam's Family. So
Yeah, so much so
he
where
was.
he is just Adam. He's
That's who
just
I
Gomez to
picture.
me. I
Yeah, he's
can't picture
Gomez.
anybody else.
Totally. All right, and the last thing you got on here is some Sega sales numbers. Big
Yeah,
oopsie from them, huh?
yeah. I guess this leaked, and I don't know why. I don't know why some companies show their numbers and some people don't. I think maybe it's damaging to the IP is the only thing I can think about. But again, I don't know who that would damage. Like, I don't care that Total War 3 Kingdom sold less than Team Sonic Racing. Like, it doesn't move the needle for me at
Yeah.
all, you know. But I do like sales
Mhm.
numbers, so I did want to go over them. It seems like, in terms, again, like whenever you think about these games and how successful they are, stuff like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, you know, perceived as a major hit and everything like that. 1.6 million, you know, that's what it made,
Yeah.
you know, which is a little more than the just under a million that the Man Who Erased His Name made, and it's about half of what like Sonic Superstars made. You know, Sonic Frontiers sold 3 times that amount at 4.57 million. You know, Shin Megami Tensei 5 at 2.11 million. It's schizophrenic, these numbers. Persona 5 Royale being their
Yep.
biggest seller at 7.25 million. Sonic Team Racing at 3.5 million. If I looked at this, I wouldn't know what trend to chase. You know what I mean? And maybe that's why they
Yeah.
didn't want to release the numbers. Maybe that's why it's a leak or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
if you just viewed it the way that it is here, you'd be like, well, maybe we should not make Yakuza games anymore. So you know what? I'll riot if we do that. So
Yeah.
I will absolutely have a meltdown if that happens.
Yeah. Don't just go based
Um,
off the numbers. That's a horrible way to make decisions. Come on,
no,
people.
no, but yeah,
Yeah.
this doesn't showcase budget or what the profits were or anything like that, you know. But it is an interesting look into like what their big sellers are, and their big sellers are Sonic and Persona. That is what makes money for them. So of
Yep.
course we're getting a mobile or PC, you know, Persona game this week. You know, of course we're getting a Persona, you know, 4 remake. That they're leaning all the way in because that's what makes them money.
Yep.
Whereas you know your other Yakuza games, you know, are Yakuza Infinite Wealth sold less than Like a Dragon. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, I would have never thought that in a million years. It sold like a million less, so
Yeah.
it sold half the amount just about. So but yeah, it's just interesting to take a look at that. You know, that information's everywhere online if y'all want to get like more harder numbers, but those are the ones that kind of popped out to me in terms of just like it being kind of surprising, like what makes them money. I didn't know Sonic was still so popular. I guess I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. But it is, and they got a new racing game coming out right
Yeah.
this August or September,
Yeah.
something
And
like
I
that.
heard the Generations, the Shadow Generations, whatever came out last October, I heard that game's awesome. That game was
That's
getting
what I've
like
heard too.
nines when it came out. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sonic's
great.
still hitting, man. Sonic is still doing
Sonic's
it,
still
and even
good.
Sonic Mania from a couple years ago. I know people loved that kind of throwback
Yeah,
side-scrolling
yeah, and
Sonic games.
Frontier's the one that like y'all really liked. I think you, Jeff,
Yep,
and
Frontiers was a good time. Never
Yeah,
finished it, but I do like Frontiers a lot. That was good.
yeah.
That was
I mean,
good.
4.57 million copies got sold on that one, and that was a big 3D, weird looking Sonic game that no one wanted whenever they first saw it, you know, and ended up everyone
Yep,
wanted it. So
that's right.
yeah, good for
Well, listen,
Sega. It seems like they're doing all right.
if any of you watching or listening want to add to some of those numbers, maybe add to some sales numbers for games. There's a lot of deals going on right now. On
Nice
the
segue.
Switch, yeah, good, yeah, you like that? Yeah.
Master of
On the
segues here.
Switch, we've got a bunch of stuff on sale. So go on the eShop, you'll see a ton of stuff. But I just wanted to highlight the ones that are now either at, matching the lowest they've ever been or lower than they've ever been. Stuff that I like. So stuff like Spirit Fair is down to $4.50 on the Switch. It matches its previous low it's ever been. Same with Hades, it's just under $9 at 8.74. Two fantastic games, totally worth the money if you
So
don't own them
wonderful.
yet. And they're great on the Switch. They run
Hmm.
fantastic and look great on the Switch. The Outer Worlds from Obsidian and Enter the Gungeon, both of those are at their lowest ever. Enter the Gungeon's at $3.74, and Outer Worlds is down to $10 on the Switch
Wow.
if you want to play that. So good deals there. We've got Streets of Rage 4 down to just under $9. That's the lowest it's ever been, which is super fun multiplayer game if you're looking for other games to play with family on the Switch.
Great
Same
beat
with
'em up.
Digimon Survive. I don't know much about that one. That's down under $10 now, normally 60. So that's a huge discount for Digimon Survive. We've got Alan Wake Remastered on the Switch is down to $4.50. I didn't even know that was on the Switch, to be honest with you. Now that I'm looking at it, I didn't. But I think it's on sale on all platforms,
Oh,
not
great.
just the
Great
Switch.
game.
We've got stuff like 13 Sentinels and Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, Grease, Inside. These are all at their matching their all-time lows. These are all great sales for these games.
I
Wonder Boy
almost
and the
bought
Dragon's
13
Trap.
Sentinels like 2 or 3 times last night. Like, it was in the cart, and I was like,
You're looking at it?
yeah,
Yeah.
I almost pulled the trigger on it a couple times right last night.
$15 for a pretty epic
I hear it's
RPG.
like 40 to 50 hours. It's a really well written. I hear it's
Great
great.
art
Yeah.
style. Yeah, that was another like 10 out of 10 for a lot of people that I
Yeah.
embarrassingly only played a few hours of.
And I missed it. I missed it
Um,
completely.
yeah, yeah. We should be ashamed.
I know it's the only
Um,
Vanillaware game I haven't played. Like, that's true.
yeah, yeah. We've got Return to Monkey Island's down to $10, and I think that's but the Baten Kaitos. I don't know how to say those games. The 1 and 2 HD remaster is down to $20, which is the lowest it's been. So you
Wow.
can grab that on the Switch. And the last one is West of Loathing, that kind of silly Stickman RPG is down to $3.41 if you want to grab that
I
one. So
used
a
to
lot of
play the
good deals
web-based game
on
called
the
Kingdom
eShop.
of Loathing back in the day, which is a spin-off of. So yeah.
Oh, see, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. And then on the Steam, there's a summer Steam sale going on right now. And if you go to steamdb.info, sorry if you hear vacuum in the background. I think my wife's let me know that I should be finished recording. But there's vacuuming happening like right up to the door. That is real. Hey, you know what? That's a good move if you need to get someone's attention.
That's good. That's good communication,
good-
I'd say. Yeah.
It's a good move. It's a good move. But on Steam, we've got stuff like Terraria, Power Wash Simulator, Goat Simulator 3, Car Mechanic Simulator. These are all at all-time lows, a lower percentage off than they've ever been. Human Fall Flat, Against the Storm, Persona 3 Reload is down to $31, which has
Ooh,
never
what a
been that
steal.
low before. Death Stranding Director's Cut, speaking of Death Stranding, is down to 16 on Steam, if you want to get
Nice.
that. A game that I've been playing a little bit on the Switch, Potion Craft Alchemist Simulator, is down to $5 on Steam. It's a pretty fun little game. I think it's also on sale on the Switch, but
Nice.
that one's pretty fun. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is at its lowest ever. Same with Dead Space, the remake. That's down to $12. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink down to 24. That's the lowest it's ever been. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is down to 16. Amazing, amazing game. So a lot of
Yeah,
good
gotta grab
deals
that one.
across all these platforms that are worth checking out. So make sure you guys go and look, see if there's anything on your wish list. That one thing I like about the eShop now is the little wish list thing where you can go to look at your wish list, and then you can have it highlight only games that are currently on sale.
Sort by sale, yeah, or just check by sale. Yeah, super
Which is
great.
a nice automatic filter. I guess they just look to see like, hey, how are people filtering? That's a top
You might
way
have
do it.
to you might have to sift through a lot of hentai games on that shop, but they have streamlined a
Oof.
couple things on that thing.
Yeah,
So.
I've stopped looking through just the full list of all releases. It just doesn't help
Yeah.
me
No, it
at
doesn't.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, if you want to check out those lists by like all-time discounts, you can either do steamdb.info or go to decudeals.com, as in like Deku Tree. They they do it for all platforms, including the Switch, in terms of what are the hottest deals, what's the lowest price it's ever been, all that kind of stuff, and when the sales end. So it's cool the way they track that. Love that. All right, well, that's all that I've got, Kyle. The only thing that's in addition, like what I'm playing, what I'm watching, and I think you and Jeff have both highlighted this for me. So I did just wrap up the second season of Tires. It's very funny. Some great guest actors that come in. It's super inappropriate. Do not watch it with your family. Maybe not even
Yeah.
with your special lady. I don't know. It depends on their sense of humor.
Have a conversation first with them before you
Have a conversation first. If you've tried watching Shane Gillis stand up with them and they don't like it, this is probably not the show for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's
Right.
very similar. But man, the guest, I don't even mention them because it's fun to kind of stumble upon some of the guest actors that are in there. But
Yeah.
it's
The
really,
cameos are fun.
really fun. It's a good time, very funny. And you could tell some of it is either so well acted that it seems ad libbed, or a lot of it has an element of ad libbing to it. that is really funny.
It does
So,
seem very improv ad lib. Yeah, it
yeah.
does.
There's elements of it that I'm like, that was that scripted and just perfectly timed on the
There's too many
acting?
like
Maybe.
Shane-isms, where I'm like,
Yeah.
he like wrote. I mean, he did that.
He said that on the spot, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, love it. Other than that, yeah, I've been playing like a bunch of little games on the Switch here and there. And I'm looking at, well, you know what? I'll talk about it next week. There's a major game that I am diving back into the last couple of days. But I am, right now, I'm kind of on that cusp. Like, hey, do I go back to play Death Stranding? Do I dive into Dune Awakening for real, for real? That's a lot. Do I want to take that on? So I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out what's
I
the
feel
thing
it.
that I want to do, because the next big game for me is DK Bonanza coming out in a few weeks.
We had like a
So
month away from that, so there's a little bit of time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what about you? Anything else you're playing or watching you want to highlight?
We talked about the big one. That's pretty much all I've been playing. I did jump onto Mario Kart for a little bit
Yeah,
online,
yeah.
and was shocked how limited the modes are on there. Like, there's not a lot to do. Like, you can do like single race, in a lobby
Yeah.
that just kind of never ends. You can't really do a cup, where there's like
Yeah.
one winner after the end of
That's
3
got to be an
races.
update. Yeah, the
There
online
has to be,
features seem
right? All this
pretty
stuff I'm about to say is
sparse.
going to get updated out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the other big thing is like, if you're in a party, you can't do knockout mode at all. Like, that's a mode that you have to do on your own.
Oh, really?
If you're in a party, you cannot do battle at all. You have to go
Weird.
into that solo. The only thing you can do with a party is single race, which is fix that. But it is fun. We did have a lot of fun. I've since gone online and played by myself a few times too. It is the way to, like, I like to get on there and play with other people. It is kind of fun. So
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
I'm only playing
Nice.
Death Stranding, so the only thing I've been watching is, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't, it would just be all spoiler talk. Is I finished up Squid Games, and the
Oh,
Squid Gamed. They did it.
yeah.
They
There's
ended
a lot of
it. It
gaming
ended.
happening.
I never saw a squid, so I still don't know why it's called that.
Still
But
disappointed.
still disappointed. Yeah, they never the titular squid never showed up.
That's
But
amazing.
it was good. I thought that overall the show was great. I
Yeah.
don't think anything is going to match the first season. I think if you think
That's
it
a
is
hard
gonna,
one to do. It's
if you were ever,
such a
I just
novel
to put
concept.
to put that on the show too is so unfair. Like, well, this better be better. Like, it can't
Yeah.
be better. Like, it's not possible. So
Yeah.
go into it
Agreed.
knowing that maybe it's not going to reach those heights, but like, there is a lot of, what I put in my little review. I said there's a lot of traumatic bone to pick at still. A lot
There
of
you go.
traumatic
Oh,
meat
that's
on the
good. I like
bone.
that. That's a good phrase. Traumatic
Um,
bone to pick
so
at.
so yeah, go watch that if you have Netflix, and have watched
Yeah.
the last 2 seasons, but nothing to really talk about there other than
If you need some
all the
stupid
spoilers.
humor on Netflix, watch Tires. If you need something a little more heavy and some more traumatic bones to pick at, you got Squid Game.
That's what we do here, Tim. We cover the spectrum. That's what we do.
That's exactly it. All right, well, listen, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching and listening. Hope you have a fantastic 4th of July week, and keep hoping and praying that Dan comes back from the dead. We did kill him, and we're just
Yeah.
hoping that he makes it back. We've killed him multiple times, and he's
The
returned.
Lazarus
But
Pit has never taken this long to cook somebody back to
yeah, it's a
life.
little strange. Yeah, so hopefully
Yeah.
that happens sooner rather than
Hopefully
later.
he doesn't
But
come back all evil too, like some other people in the
he
Lazarus
will.
Pit. So, okay.
He
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not the
The
dapper
era of
chocobo
heel
anymore.
Dan. Yeah.
He's the undead chocobo.
The
Yeah,
undead
it's gonna be great.
Chocobo. Yeah. Grim Reaper hat.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one.